Today on Homeworthy, we're opening the doors to 5 couples' first homes, each brimming with unique charm. We'll start with an elegant cottage in Atlanta, then visit a light-filled Bay Area bungalow, then a stylish Dallas townhome, a stunning renovation in Georgia, and wrap up with a coastal cool California retreat. Watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm SJ.
And I'm Jackson.
And welcome to our first home here in Atlanta, Georgia. Come on inside.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey, I'm Jackson Bailey. I'm an attorney here in Atlanta.
And I'm SJ Bailey. I'm a jewelry designer for my company, SJ Bailey Co., and welcome to our first home. We've been together for almost 8 years. We met when we were 19. We were sophomores at UGA. We met at a fraternity sorority party, and I thought he was so cute, but I never saw him like around on campus like ever. And then randomly we bumped into each other at the UGA Auburn game and started talking and just really hit it off, but I was like, I'm never gonna see him again. And then I ended up that same week, we bumped into each other. It was so wild. Like, one of us was going to get a bagel before class, or I got dragged downtown by my friends and I didn't want to go. We bumped into each other like 5 times that week, and then he asked me out on a date on Black Friday, but I was working at Anthropology at the time, and I of course like couldn't take Black Friday off, so I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'd love to go on a date with you, but I can't like that day.
I thought that was a nice excuse, so gave up a little bit there, but you know.
I really did want to go though, and then that day I actually got a call from my manager at Anthropology, and she was saying that they were overstaffed and she didn't end up needing me to come in that day, so we ended up going on a date, and
yeah, shout out to that manager, I guess.
Been together ever since.
Yeah.
We're here in Atlanta, Georgia, in our little cottage home. We absolutely love living here. We looked for so long for our first house.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably, I guess 7 months maybe doesn't sound like the longest of times, but it
feels long when you get like 10 Zillow messages a day, but
yes. But it ended up working out perfectly. We actually were looking at a house on this same street, and that house was okay. I wasn't in love with it, and I drove past this house like on the way to the other one, saw a for sale sign in the yard, and I just figured, oh, it's definitely out of our budget. That's why I haven't seen it on Zillow yet. And had our agent call just in case. Ended up, it hadn't hit the market yet. So we were able to be the first showing and the first offer. And as soon as I walked in this house, I knew this was the one. Like, I hadn't had that feeling anywhere else. I fell in love with the floor plan. I loved the existing charm, and I just had a vision to bring it to life. Yeah. And it worked out, so yay, we got it after like many offers that were not accepted on other houses.
Sure. Yeah, so I knew that I wanted to propose to her for a long time, but you know, we started dating sophomore year of college, so we had a long road to go before you know, we were ready for marriage. But it was after my first year of law school, I came back home, and that's when I knew I wanted to propose so that we could be married for my last year and live together up in Virginia. And so she always talked a lot about the Swan Coach House in Atlanta, and it's a very pretty spot. So I figured that would be the right place to do it. What I didn't know is that it's closed certain days of the week, and so I made a big plan, got her sister to come, and convinced her that they were taking pictures for her business at the Coach House. And of course, Eshed knew that the coach house was probably closed that day, so she was dragging her feet. But shout out to Annie for getting Eshe there. But I was hiding. There's like a big gate there, and of course when I show up, it's locked, and so I'm trying to figure out what am I gonna do, because there's no rearranging the plan now, and so I had to walk through the little bit of woods around the fence and got myself in there. Of course, when Eshe shows up with her sister and the gate's locked, Annie had to convince her to also sneak behind the fence. And so, once she saw me, I think I somehow got the words out to do it. And then, she said yes, so it was great. They walked up after, we had done it and take a couple pictures. There was people that were coming to definitely tell us that we need to get out of there. And then I think they realized what had happened, so then they were nice, but...
Yeah, they let us have our moment, which I appreciate. Yeah. Okay, we got married at Atlanta Country Club, and it was the most perfect day ever. It was amazing. And we had, Jackson wore a white jacket. I had all the bridesmaids in white dresses, and then all the groomsmen in white jackets too. So it looked really cool, especially against the green golf course for photos. But it was amazing. It was just so sweet, and we had blue and white flowers everywhere. And most importantly, I got to marry Jackson, so it was a success.
Well, you planned it all yourself too?
Oh yeah, I did. We didn't use a planner. I planned everything. I knew exactly what I wanted. And I also have a bridal jewelry business, so it just kind of felt like the perfect fit to bring my vision to life with all the designs.
Yeah, you did perfect.
Oh, thank you.
The weather cooperated?
Yes. Oh my gosh, we got married in August, so it was...
Yeah. In Georgia in August, it usually thunderstorms every afternoon. So luckily the rain started during the service, and so everyone was inside. And then once it was done, it was sunny. So
it was great.
Some people didn't even know it rained. We found that out later, but yeah, it was perfect.
So this is our entryway, and even though it's definitely a very small space, I wanted it to pack a punch when you first walk into our home. And I fell in love with this wallpaper when we went to Schumacher. I was actually looking originally for a wallpaper for our bathroom to match a shower curtain that I'll show y'all in a little bit. And this one matched so perfectly, but I felt like it was so beautiful. I wanted to display it more than just tucked away in our bathroom. And I felt like it would make this little space feel like a jewel box. So it felt like the perfect place to put it. And I love the floral elements. We decided to use a brass visual comfort chandelier that also ties into the floral. And I found this gold mirror at Le Chateau. It's an antique store here in Atlanta, and I felt like it just matched perfectly. And so yeah, this is what everyone sees when they first walk in. And now I'd love to show you our living room. So this is our living room. This is definitely where we spend the majority of our time. Yeah, whether it's watching movies or hanging out or even just working and checking emails on the couch. We love this room. A lot of what you see in here is going to be a secondhand find, whether that's estate sales, Facebook Marketplace, eBay. That's essentially the only places that I shop for home decor. So these blue French chairs here were actually one of the first purchases that I made for our home. I bought these before, I think we were engaged when I bought them, and they were about $120 on Facebook Marketplace. And they also came with this antique gold mirror that was beautiful. I felt like it was a steal. However, they were painted sparkly blue with neon teal fabric. And I texted a photo to Jackson. I was like, look, I bought these for our first apartment.
Wonderful.
I think he thought I'd lost the plot. But I had a vision, and I felt like the bones for these chairs were really great. And I ended up DIYing them. So I stripped the paint off of the wood. And I wanted to recover them myself, but honestly, I just couldn't figure out how to do that. So I did pay someone to reupholster them. But I found this ice blue fabric, and I felt like I could use these no matter what house we ended up going to. And I think Jackson likes them now.
Really awesome.
And it's become Biscuit's favorite place to hang out.
Yeah, this is our golden retriever, Biscuit. She's about 10 months now, but she loves to get on the neighborhood watch here. So my parents actually have a golden retriever who's probably double the size of Biscuit. It's like over 100 pounds, but they call him the sheriff because he likes to patrol their neighborhood on their front porch. So we've nicknamed Biscuit here the deputy. So the deputy's on duty right now, making sure nothing's going wrong.
And I ended up finding these pillows on Etsy, and I asked the vendor if instead of doing black velvet piping, she could do light blue, and it matches so perfectly, and I got them for not very expensive, which is lovely. Next up, I can show y'all this art. So my friend Autumn Arissa Art painted this. It's a watercolor. I found this frame at an estate sale. I love it, and it matches this room so perfectly. I found this print. It was actually a greeting card, and I found it on a girls' trip in Austin. And I don't know why this card just spoke to me. And I cut it off the little like card part, and I mounted it onto this canvas paper that I just found at Michael's. And my Grammy actually gave me this frame. She had a gallery wall in her old house before she decided to move, and she gifted me a lot of those frames that were on that gallery wall, which has been amazing, and we've used them all over this house, but I like how this looks. It makes me happy. I actually painted these, so don't look too closely because I am not a painter at all. But yeah, I painted this set for our first apartment in Charlottesville, where we lived for our first year of marriage because it was his third year of law school. And I thought they actually fit perfectly. I didn't intend to like use them again because I was like, oh, I painted them myself. Like, I don't know. But I really like how they look. And then I found this bench at an estate sale in Charlottesville. It was the longest line I've ever waited in for an estate sale before. And I was shocked that this was still there because I saw it on the listing and I went specifically for this bench. So that was so great. Then we redid the fireplace when we bought this house. We did a lot of projects to this house actually. When we first bought it, we completely redid this room. Basically, we removed the baseboards. We did these new taller ones because I wanted to maintain the charm of this house. Like, it was so cute already. Yeah. And I just felt like we could elevate it a little bit. And we did higher baseboards, which I really love them. And then we added this wood molding to the crown molding just to elevate it a little bit. And this actually used to be white quartz, and we found out in our inspection of the house that it was a fire hazard. So that had to go. We didn't want our first home to burn down when we first lit the fireplace. So we ended up doing this Carrara marble subway tile, or Carrara marble 3x6 tile. And I love how this looks. I think it's very timeless. And then we wanted to mount our TV over.
This was probably the coolest part.
Yeah, we wanted to mount this TV over the fireplace, but it's brick behind this, of course, because it's, you know, chimney, all that stuff. And we couldn't get an outlet far enough into the brick, and I didn't want to get a frame TV and then have cords everywhere. So what I designed is this box where it's just this wooden box that we built out and then added that same wooden molding kind of style around the box just to kind of make it look like it's been here forever. And it's hollow inside the box so the outlet can stick up, and then we hid all the wires and we're able to mount the TV over the fireplace.
Yeah.
And
no, it looks great. It looks like it was part of the original house, so that's the cool part.
That's everything we've done. We really just wanted to maintain the integrity of the house. It was so cute, and we just wanted to play into that charm. And yeah, it's funny, the amount of people that have walked in here and didn't know it was a TV is...
Yeah, you know, Samsung sponsor us, I guess.
And then this chest I found at Le Chateau here in Atlanta. I love them. And they actually refinished it in this beautiful mahogany color and then added a marble top because it didn't originally have one. And since this is a smaller square footage home, we're trying to maximize storage as much as we can, and it just helps to have extra drawers wherever you can. And I found this lamp at Peridot. It's a local store here in Atlanta too. They have a lot of cute home stuff, and I felt like this pulled in the dark blue and all the pillows. This coffee table is also a marketplace find, and we had a smaller version when we lived in Charlottesville, and I loved it so much, but our apartment was so significantly smaller, and it was probably like this long, and it looked teeny tiny in this room, and I was so sad because I loved it so much, and I was really excited when I found a larger version on Facebook Marketplace, and I don't know, it makes me happy. Hey, Biscuit. This is our stack of coffee table books. This actually happened as an accident because when we moved into our first apartment in Atlanta, when we were moving all the coffee table books, we just ended up stacking them in a corner, and I ended up loving how it looked. So ever since then, we've always had a little coffee table book stack, and it is shockingly sturdy. Biscuit has not knocked it down yet, and I thought this looked really cool with this art that I found at an estate sale and then on Etsy. And then here is a little miniature gallery wall. I found this mirror also on Facebook Marketplace, and it was such a good deal that I actually thought it was a scam, and I took Jackson, my brother, and my sister to go pick it up with me because I thought I was going to get kidnapped, but I didn't, and now it looks beautiful in my home. So I love it. And whenever we go on dates, Jackson and I always collect little matchbooks. So any trip we've gone on, any of our favorite restaurants, we just have this collection here, and it always is kind of fun when you light a candle with a little match from this. This is our intaglio wall. We also had this in our first apartment here in Atlanta, and I just love intaglios. I think it's a very cool vintage touch to everything, and my mom helped me hang this, and if you look behind the intaglios, there are a whole lot of holes in the wall, but I think it looks very elegant and elevated. Something I really like to do in our home is create little vignettes wherever you look, and this is probably one of my favorites. I found this artwork at an estate sale in Atlanta. I'm sorry if that's annoying how many times I'm saying estate sale, but I loved the butterflies and they were a great deal. I had been looking forever for some brass sconces and I couldn't find what I was looking for. Ended up finding these on eBay, and I just think brass sconces with candlesticks feel very romantic to me, and I love how all of this looks. I don't think I have a specific style that I go after for a house. I think it's more of I see a piece, I know I like it, and I will find a place for it in our home. And I feel like, yeah, I feel like it all just kind of came together that way. I know I love French, anything French, in terms of like furniture or lines, and I also really love antique pieces. And I think I like to give a playful twist. I want people to walk into our home and for it to feel not like a museum, but a place where they can sit on the couch, be comfortable, and actually enjoy their time here. Like if something breaks, it breaks, and there's just nothing you can do about it.
When you moved into the house and then immediately got an 8-week golden retriever, things are chaos. So.
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do about a little puppy running amok, and we always said that she would not be allowed on the furniture, but
yeah, no.
This is Biscuit's couch, this is Biscuit's chair, this is actually Biscuit's chair, so yeah. Well, here is our dining room. Almost everything in this room is secondhand, so the rug was a Facebook Marketplace find. This, hi Biscuit. This wooden credenza was a Facebook Marketplace find. I had to find one that was very narrow because this is a very small square footage space, and I didn't want something here that was gonna pop out so much that you couldn't walk through. And, oh, sorry Biscuit. When I found this, it was perfect. And it's also great storage, and I feel like it just kind of makes the space feel light and bright and airy. And this is a tablescape that I've set up using our wedding china. These napkins were also a wedding gift, and I just love a monogrammed linen. And any kind of brass candlestick I can get my hands on, I'm so excited about. And I think these were about $3 each at estate sales here in the Atlanta area. So I feel like this just looks very lovely and timeless. And this art was also an estate sale find. Originally, these prints came in these frames, but they were painted like purple, and the matting was, I think, red and purple tie-dye, but they were like $3 each. I loved the prints, and I used rub and buff to create more of a timeless look, in my opinion, with the brass frames, and I really like how they look. We also did this wallpaper, and I saw this wallpaper at Schumacher, fell in love with it, and I knew I wanted to do it in our dining room because I felt like green in the dining room would be so lovely for holidays and, you know, all that kind of stuff I just love. And I felt like because it's such a small space, it would be a lot to do this wallpaper all over the room. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to do this picture frame molding and then do the wallpaper design in the picture frame molding. And I'm really, really happy with how it came together. Here, this is the other side of the wall. So we did it on this wall and that one. And this is our little party pantry, as my mom calls it, where we store all of our entertaining supplies. So all this was wedding gifts or estate sale finds, but it's kind of a nice little hidden away storage. So this is our Heron collection. This actually all started with this little cake topper that we used for our wedding cake. And then I just fell in love with Heron and decided that Heron figurines was gonna be my new passion. So I found this at an estate sale with a friend. I was visiting her when she lived in Dallas, and there was this estate sale in Highland Park. It was the most insane estate sale I've ever been to. And this was so cheap. I genuinely was like, oh my gosh, like, what is going on? Like, is it not real? I don't know, but I love it, so I'm gonna take it. And I went to the checkout line and I was checking out, and they were like, oh, just so you know, like, it's cracked. And I was like, what? You can't even tell. So I guess this had previously shattered and they glued it back together, but you can't even tell, and he's really cute. And yeah, we love an estate sale treasure. So I found these at an estate sale, and then I found this at an estate sale in Charlottesville. And this is actually what inspired this dining room. Is I just loved the colors so much and the floral elements, and I felt like designing a dining room around these just made so much sense. And that's what kind of drove me to choose this wallpaper and then just the elements throughout the room. What's been so special about living here and having this as our first home is just thinking about all the memories that not only that we already have from living here for a year, but all the ones that we're gonna make. We've had so many sweet memories with us and having our friends and family over, with Biscuit especially. And it's just really exciting to think about all the fun stuff that's to come here in this home.
And I think it's cool because, you know, we both grew up here, but in different parts of the city. So it's sort of nice to move to, you know, another part and sort of make it our own together. So it makes this house feel special that, you know, yes, this is our hometown, but Atlanta's pretty spread out. And so it's nice to make a particular spot ours.
Okay, this is our kitchen. This is the last room that we redid actually. So when we moved in, we weren't really sure if we were gonna redo this or not, but we decided we spend a lot of time in here, of course, and it felt like, you know, this increases the value of your home to update your kitchen. And we ended up going with a Carrara marble countertop, which I'm really happy with. We originally thought that we were gonna do a full splash backsplash of this Carrara marble, but we ended up doing 14 inches above with a little 2-inch shelf. And I feel like it very much plays into the cottage character of this house, you know, with the beadboard on the cabinets and then this little shelf. It just, I don't know, it's very cute and quaint to me. I actually sewed these curtains myself. I found this fabric on Spoonflower, and if you look closely, you can tell that I DIY'd this, so don't look too close. But I really love how this looks because we ended up creating just a little seating area here in the kitchen. When we first moved in, we were very torn of if we wanted to do a rolling island here to have extra counter space or a little eating area, but honestly, I'm really happy that we went with another eating area because now we have another space. If, you know, we have friends over and they want to come over for a cup of coffee or a drink, you can sit here. Jackson and I have a place to eat that's not our formal dining room. And we actually spend a lot of time right here. And I just think we created a cute little area that just brings us joy and makes us happy.
So the last little addition to our kitchen was a Christmas gift from my mom, actually. And she made these little magnets of us and Biscuit. And then here's actually the deputy herself and the sheriff. So, you know, just a little small detail that's fun in our kitchen.
Yeah. This is our office. This is where I spend the majority of my time during the day. And here's Biscuit looking cute as ever. But yeah, I found this desk at Ballard Designs, and it originally came with these black knobs, and I didn't really love them, but I found these knobs on Amazon, and they're mother of pearl, which really matches the jewelry that I make for my jewelry company, and it felt like the perfect fit. This chair originally so my parents growing up like moved around houses every 2 years, and in one of the houses, the seller had this in the bedroom that was going to become my bedroom, and my mom looked at it and was like, this is the most SJ chair I've ever seen, and asked when they were buying the house if they could have this chair, and the lady said yes, and now it sits in this office, and I just think it's so fun. I found these Roman shades on Etsy, and I felt like it was a great way to make this room feel a little bit more private, because we have all of these windows, and our neighbors are right there, and I feel like it's a great way to just kind of elevate the space while also adding the functionality of privacy. And this chandelier is visual comfort. It reminds me a lot of my jewelry because I use a lot of floral elements, like you can see in my necklaces and my earrings, and I feel like it's just a little inspiration whenever I'm working in here. Now, these shelves I bought for our old apartment. They're from IKEA, and I stuffed just about every single thing I possibly can in here. Originally, this was to hold all of the S.J. Bailey Co. earrings that I make, but I'm very grateful and excited to say that now we've gotten to the point where I can't fit all of my inventory in here. So now I just shove all of our supplies, random things for the business in here, and I DIY'd these curtains. I found this fabric at Schumacher, and I found these like rods at Home Depot, and I mounted them to the inside so that way we could put whatever we needed to in here, and it wouldn't be super messy and crazy when people walk in from the outside deck and where we park and everything into the home, and you'd see all my clutter. So I think it's a great way to just kind of hide everything. This is actually one of the first pieces of artwork that I found when we first got married. I found this vintage Ferragamo scarf on eBay, and I fell in love with it because I just love butterflies and florals, and I got it framed at a local frame store, and I feel like it really just highlights, it's crazy how well it matches the desk and the curtains, given that all of these were found and curated very separately, and it all just came together. When it comes to buying your first home, just know that everything happens for a reason. There were houses that we put offers in that we thought would have been great houses, but they were not the ones for us, and now being on this side of it, it's so obvious why those didn't work out. And I know it can be hard when you're buying your first home, because in order to warrant putting an offer in on a house, you have to wrap your head around living in that area, what your lifestyle would look like there, what your finances would look like with that mortgage or down payment and everything, and you kind of wrap your mind around a vision of a life in that house. And so if you put an offer in and then you don't get it, it can almost be like mourning a life that you thought you were gonna have. And we definitely experienced that a couple of times. But now being in this home, I could not be happier that the other ones didn't work out. And my advice to any first-time home buyers would just be to trust that like your home will come. And even though patience is certainly not one of my virtues, I would recommend trying to be patient.
Yeah, I think my advice would be to be flexible. I mean, I think something that, we didn't really expect is right after you purchase the home, the basement might flood or, something might break that you never even heard of in your life. And I think it's just good to go in with a mindset of like, we're in this together. You're with your best friend, hopefully, and you're buying a place for the two of you. So if things unexpected happen, at least you're experiencing it together, and you just gotta roll with it to a certain extent.
Yeah. We completely redid this bathroom when we moved in. I mean, we demoed it to the studs, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. I absolutely love it. I chose this Carrara marble and thought it would look really beautiful to take halfway up the wall. Originally, I wanted to wallpaper this room, and that's what I found that entryway wallpaper for, but honestly, this feels so calm and peaceful to me, and I love wallpaper, and I'm a maximalist at heart, don't get me wrong, but I'm very happy with how it looks right now, so I'm a little apprehensive to wallpaper it, but we'll see. You never know. I DIY'd these curtains, which it's probably very obvious if you look very closely, but I found this fabric at Valor Designs, and I thought it perfectly matched with our Wheezy towels with this beautiful French blue, and I found this curtain on Facebook Marketplace for a fraction of the price. It was brand new. I fell in love with it, and honestly, this inspired all of the bathroom decor, to be honest, and it just, I don't know, I feel like these pull in the darker blue and the light blue, and I found this bath mat on Etsy, and something kind of fun is that my married monogram is Jackson's monogram because he's JSB and I'm SJB, so kind of worked out perfectly, meant to be. And, oh yeah, so these were also frames from my Grammy's gallery wall that she gifted me, and I absolutely love them. I think they're very timeless and classic, and I actually had bought this wrapping paper from Dogwood Hill, like, gosh, I don't even know, I think I was still in college when I bought this, and I had just a couple of scraps left, nothing big enough to wrap a gift with. I don't know why I kept it, but I did, because I thought it was very pretty. And this color, I mean, it matches so perfectly with everything. It just makes me so excited. I feel like it looks very meant to be, and it looks very intentional, but little did you know, a lot of this was just curated over the years, and it just came together. And I'm very happy with how it looks. And I can show y'all too, this is what we did when we redid the bathroom. And like I said, I really wanted to play into the original charm of the house. When we redid this bathroom, I wanted it to feel very timeless and like it had been here forever since the house was built. And I felt like doing this was very classic and it wouldn't go out of style, hopefully. And I love this shower head that we did with the exposed pipe. If you look closely, we couldn't find a screw that went into the wall enough, but I'm telling myself that that's just character of the home and its personality, but it sticks out a little bit, but it's fine. So yeah, this is just a little luxurious space for us to take a bath, shower. Biscuit loves to lay in here just on the tile. There goes our bath mat, but that's life with a golden retriever puppy.
I mean, I definitely think a home soul is, you know, the times you spend together in the house. It doesn't have to be something like grand or crazy, like a big party or an event. But, you know, I think little things like the day-to-day, just coming home and knowing that, you know, this is the place where you can relax and be yourself and, you know, be with your family, whether that's you and your significant other and a dog or, you know, 7 kids. I think a home is definitely made by the people. A little cliche, but it's true.
No, it's true. I think, yes, like decor is so lovely and it can definitely change a space. Like I'm a very aesthetically driven person, so I have a lot of fun with the decoration process, but at the end of the day, like the soul of a house is who's in it. I completely agree.
Or what's in Biscuit's case.
Or yes, what's in it? How many treats and toys for Biscuit?
Yes.
That's probably what she would say. This is our guest bedroom. This was actually done in collaboration with Frontgate, so they so generously gifted us the furniture for this room, and I love how this came together. We wanted to create a very luxurious, serene space for our friends and family to come visit. Jackson and I each have 2 siblings that don't live here, and so we wanted when they came to visit to have a space that felt like home to them. So I worked with Frontgate's designer, Courtney, and she picked out this bed, and we had already had these side tables with a marble top, and we felt like it just paired together so perfectly. And I collect Wedgwood, so my mother-in-law actually has found a lot of these pieces for me at estate sales and on Facebook Marketplace too, and I love these lamps. I just think it looks very cozy, and honestly, Jackson and I very well just make this our primary bedroom because we love it so much. So when we first bought this house, I was telling Jackson he could have the primary bedroom walk-in closet because I'm such a selfless, generous wife. And that left me with this little tiny coat closet that is literally yay wide and fits nothing in here. So what we did is we found these PAX units at IKEA. And, you know, while they serve such great functionality, they did not match the aesthetic that we were going for with this room. So we ended up attaching this picture frame molding and then building out this molding at the top. We wanted to do crown molding, but a quirk about a very old home is that the ceilings aren't always even. So if you look closely, you'll be able to tell that it's a little zigzagged every which way, but it's fine. And this is so great because now I have plenty of space for my clothes, and I think it also looks really pretty and like it's been here forever, because we just didn't want it to look, you know, super modern with everything else that's so traditional. So yeah, so this is my closet. This is where I keep everything, but I love how these look. And then I found this little stool at Le Chateau, and it already came painted this color and covered in this fabric, and it just elevates this space so much. I feel like it belongs in here, and it also serves a function because I can't reach the top shelves of this closet, and I can just pull this out, stand on it, and then it's all good. I also did this peel and stick wallpaper myself. I ordered it from Spoonflower, and Jackson was gonna help me, so this is not at all him not wanting to be helpful, but it was delivered while he was at work, and I got the delivery notification, so I ran outside and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just doing this now, because like I said, patience is not one of my many virtues. So I decided to just go ahead and do it, and it took me a couple of hours, but then Jackson came home and he did not have to wallpaper a bedroom. So I think he was actually very happy about that. But I love it. I think it just makes it so cozy and serene, but also a little bit playful and classic. So
So this is our bedroom. As you can see, Biscuit thinks this is her bedroom as well. We've tried a couple times to let her sleep in here, and it's pretty unsuccessful because she's super restless. So the crate is her spot for the time being. But
she likes to burrow under the covers. Like she just crawls under and then takes all the sheets and covers with her. And we're like, okay, great. Thank you so much, Biscuit.
She's a coal miner at heart or something. I don't know.
Yes, but yeah, we love this room. We've made it very cozy. Here she goes. It's her bed. What can we do, you know? She's so cute. Hi. Hello. Hi. So I found these at an estate sale, and the first thing I noticed was the frames. I absolutely love these. I loved the bows, and as you can probably tell by now, I love a brass or golden frame. And then I also fell in love with the prints. Part of the reason I got them for such a great deal is because the glass is broken on this one, but I will eventually get this fixed, so pay no mind. Anyways, walking over here. These side tables were one of the first purchases I made. I think we were engaged, or maybe it was like even before we got engaged. And this was probably one of the few investment buys I've done that was not a secondhand find, but they're from Le Chateau. I think they're very timeless. I figured no matter what bedroom we do, we could end up making them work. And one of the great things about Le Chateau is if you buy something from them, if you ever want it repainted or if you want to trade it out for something else, like they will do that. So it felt like a safe purchase. These are our wedding invitations. My aunt got them framed when we got married, which was so sweet. And honestly, our crest perfectly matches the vibe of the room. So that goes there. And then these were done by a local artist, Lindsay Frank's Art. And I don't know. I love them. I think they look really cute. I used my Christmas money one year to buy this bedding. I fell in love with it. I love the light blue, and just makes me happy every morning when we wake up in this bedding. And I found these curtains at Ballard Designs, and I don't know, I felt like they were just kind of fun. Normally, I don't want to put a bed in front of a window, but with the layout of this room, there was just really no other option, so I tried to make it look as elegant as possible, despite unfortunate room circumstances.
One thing about old houses is we found out very quickly that the dimensions are not always symmetrical, and so we hung these, this one and then the one in the living room, we hung ourselves, and so, you know, at first I thought maybe you just measure 2 inches down, 2 inches down, 2 inches down, and you get the perfect line. And when I did that and it was about like this, I realized maybe that's not the case. And so I had to use my math skills for the first time since probably AP statistics, and I think it looks pretty straight, so maybe. But yeah, that's a tip. If it's an old house, your dimensions are probably not symmetrical.
Yeah, but he did a great job, and we really like how it looks. To me, home would be, of course, Jackson and Biscuit, but a place where I feel like I can just be completely at peace. With this house, what I wanted so badly is to make a place where even if we're traveling or doing other things out and about, it's where I cannot wait to get back to. And creating a space where you just feel like I can be completely myself and put my feet up and relax and just be so comfortable, and also find like so much joy in what we've created here. So yeah.
Yeah, I think home to me is also, you know, not just the location. Like obviously this is both of our hometowns and our families live here, but it's cool within that to have, you know, your own place. Of, you know, it's, for me, it's cool to grow up here my whole life and then actually like buy a house in the same place, which is sweet. So
yeah.
I liked it.
And home can also be the places around you too. It cannot just be your house. It could be your grocery store, like your dry cleaners, your, I don't know, maybe that's a terrible way to say this. Like,
nothing says home like the dry cleaners, you know?
Well, you know what I mean? Like the places that you frequent and you're like, oh, that's my Publix. Like that's my Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
I don't know. That made a lot more sense in my
I
head.
mean, it's where you're comfortable.
Yes,
sure.
yeah.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Becca.
And I'm Kurt, and welcome to our first home in Mill Valley, California.
Welcome to our newest Homeworthy series called Our First Home, where we meet young lovebirds who are building their first nest together.
Now we're the Taylors.
We're married.
These couples have both charming love stories and lovely homes.
It just feels great to be not only building a home, but building a life together.
So prepare to be swept off your feet by these incredible pairs and the places they call home. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, I'm Becca Meyer, and I'm an interior designer.
And hey, I'm Kurt Meyer, and I'm a sales executive, and welcome to our first home.
So Kurt and I met about 8 years ago, and we've been married just about 2 now, actually over 2. We just had our anniversary. And we met on Hinge in 2016 when dating apps were like a little bit newer, and you had to have a mutual friend to connect, which was kind of crazy. And we actually went to rival colleges, but actually met in San Francisco, even though we both went to school in South Carolina.
Our first date, we went out to a restaurant near where we lived in San Francisco, and we had so much fun. We laughed the whole time. The rest was history.
So we got married in Carmel Valley. It's a super special place to us. We used to take road trips there all the time when we were dating, and it was such a special place for us to bring our families together. We got married at this like awesome property called the Holly Farm, and it was July 2022, so it was a very special time getting like the world back together. And we made it like a whole weekend affair. It was like Thursday through Sunday, so it was just so great to have everyone together.
I feel like the entire thing was curated by her, from the chairs to the tables to the entire experience.
We were designing this house and planning the wedding at the same time, so like in parallel, I feel like a lot of what you'll see in this house you'd like see at our wedding. There's a lot of like earth tones, and we brought in a lot of just like really casual loungewear and wanted it to feel like when our guests were at cocktail hours, like kind of like they're in our living room. So like a lot of the furniture that you'd see that we rented for our wedding, I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of like similar to like the vibe of our house. And that's something that was important to me because we wanted everyone just to feel very welcome and just excited to be together to celebrate. And it is true, I did launch my business about 2 months after our wedding, and I kind of just kept the momentum of wedding planning and was like, I'm gonna keep doing this. And then I started taking on clients from my interior design business shortly thereafter. So it was a really special year. So we welcomed our first daughter in April, and her name's Millie. She is the most special little girl. We're so blessed with her. She just embodies everything we love. She's just like so fun loving and just such a chill baby, and we're having like the time of our lives with her. She's amazing. Our home is in Mill Valley, California. It's a super special place to us. It's just north of the Golden Gate Bridge, about 15 minutes. And we spent almost every weekend here when we lived in San Francisco because there's so much hiking. You're 30 minutes from the beach, such good restaurants, and just a really fun community here that being so close to the city, you just get a lot of different people. And we always just loved the spirit of this town. And so when it came time to decide where we wanted to move after leaving the city, it was like, of course, it's Mill Valley. And we were lucky enough to find this house.
Yeah, and when we were first looking for homes, location was so important to us. So that came at the expense of size. So we found this beautiful home, this very charming home. However, it was a little bit small, and that was a big concern of ours initially. Through Becca's amazing curation, organizing, decluttering all my junk, the house feels anything but small, especially now with our growing family. We just had our daughter. Becca has been able to create this beautiful, rejuvenating, calm, tranquil space for us, even though it is our first home and it's a little bit small, since that's all we could afford at the time.
Yeah, so we lived in 450 square feet when we were in San Francisco, and we loved that apartment. It was similar, it was in like the best neighborhood, best location. We loved that apartment. So then this house is about just over 900 square feet, and then we have an additional space in the cottage, which we will show you. But 900, I was like, this feels huge. Like, this is great. So when people come over now, it's like, yeah, it is like a smaller space, but we're in like the most walkable part of Mill Valley, especially now with the stroller and the baby. We just set out for the day and we can just walk all over town and even walk up the mountain, and it's just so fun to be in this location, so we're very happy here.
Yeah, and what's unique about this home is that because it's so small, we actually spend a significant portion of our time in every square inch of this home. There's not a room that we don't spend every single day in.
That's true.
And therefore it's been, I thought it would be a challenge of like making every square inch pleasing to be in, and a place where we can recharge our batteries. And like back to Becca's decluttering, her organization, her organization of our shelving has just made it into such a calm space. And again, it just doesn't feel small, and every square inch of this home is beautiful to look at and kind of represents our style and our aesthetic.
Yeah, you have to get really into functional living when you have small space, and especially when you're into the design of things, you have to always be looking at not only the aesthetic, but also like, okay, can we actually store stuff in here? Is this something that I want to look at every day? Because in a small space, you're just the exposure to the rooms, like you're like, oh yeah, I'm in every room pretty much all the time. So you want to make sure you're not getting sick of anything. Or you'll notice that our home has a very neutral palette, and that was intentional because I was like, I wanted the whole house to flow, because you're going to be walking through the house a lot, and especially with our outdoor area, which we use a ton, just with like indoor outdoor living in the moderate climate here. I just wanted it to feel very calming, as Kurt said, and just like you're bringing the outdoors in with like just nice earth tones and just really relaxing, tranquil vibes. Welcome to our living room. So this is the first room you walk into when you come into our home. And so it starts as like the entry area as well as like multiple things. So in designing this room, it was super important that we made sure it was multifunctional. And also just like a very warm welcome to the space. And first thing when you walk in that I love about this home is you're greeted by this like epic archway that is original to the 1930s home. And there's just so much charm that everything that we designed in this home, we wanted to make sure it just leaned into that charm and the character of this home. It's really what pulled at our heartstrings when we purchased it. One thing that I love when you first see is the original hardwood floors. And these just make me so happy. And we kept rugs at a minimum because we just wanted to make sure that you could really see these beautiful floors that are original to the home. Another thing about our home that is a signature is the amount of built-in shelving, which was so attractive to us when we purchased the home because it just is so stunning to have these built-in features. The woman who we purchased the home from was actually an avid book collector, so she had tons of books, and the way she described it was she just kept building shelves. So when we first bought this home, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so many shelves, which has really helped me lean into my shelf styling abilities. And I learned the hard way, like don't rush to fill things and really just appreciate the journey of decorating, because most of these things are pieces that we've picked up from our travels, or I go to the flea market every month, and just really getting things with soul that help tell our story and also just like look really nice because it is a small home and we look at this stuff all the time. So the shelves are one of my favorite things about the home, and this is right when you walk in, and I just love playing around with these. I'm changing them out seasonally depending on like if we've gotten something new, if I'm swapping something out for another room. And it's just a really, really high impact space because it's like, wow, this is just like such a beautiful piece of feature. Okay, that was not good.
I frequently, when I'm working from home, I frequently get asked if it's a real background or an actual background when I'm on Zoom calls and whatnot. And it's just a testament to the way Becca's styled these shelves. It looks fake on Zoom because everything's so perfectly curated and color coordinated, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Back to the point of every square inch of this house mattering. Everything's just a delight to look at, which is really special.
Yeah, and I love these shelves because it actually has cabinets as well. So we have like the beautiful display of items, but we also have like really functional toy storage, dog toy storage. We have like our printer in here. Like we do actually have things that have to like exist, and it's nice to have doors to shut. Everything is very organized. When I got pregnant, I literally started nesting immediately, and not everything, including our attic, every single drawer was organized perfectly because I was like, everything needs a place if we're going to fit a child in here. So that was a fun adventure.
For example, I used to just put my keys and stuff kind of wherever the door was, and I quickly learned and evolved to make sure everything has its place because it really makes a difference having that kind of clutter out. So I think just having systems in place, even in a small home, you don't have to have your keys and your wallet and all your clutter out all the time. There's a place for those things, and it makes such a big difference to just the mental clarity of not having junk all over the place.
There's two things we're trying to accomplish. We wanted it to be really great for entertaining and also make this like room feel very open because it is the entry area. So we want people to walk in and feel like there wasn't closed off space. But we also are like avid TV watchers, and there's no shame in that. We like love watching a movie. So we do also have a very large TV here. And I like it because you don't see it immediately when you walk through the front door. I remember the day that you came home from this from Best Buy. I was like, oh, that's a little big.
Yeah,
but
I was in charge of the TV. That's my only touch in the house.
But now that we have it, like we spend so much time watching movies, having friends over to watch games, etc. And like having a big TV to me is something that like now that we've had it, I'm like, it's so important, and like making it work in this space. And sometimes I'm like, whoa, we have a giant TV in our house, but I feel like it really works, especially like when you pair it with a console. Like once we had the TV, I was like, we need to find a wide enough console. You always want the console to be wider than the TV, general rule of thumb. So this was actually a Facebook Marketplace find that I actually refinished and stripped myself to just be a lighter wood to go with the floors and the rest of the furniture in the house, which this is one that I came home with and you're like, what are you gonna do with that? Because it was like on wheels, super dark wood, super dated, but it's real wood. And the beautiful thing about real wood is like you can always bring it down to its natural state. But this has been an awesome piece because it was like 40 bucks. I think all in once materials, it was like 100. And it has that like raw and finished look that I love. And it's nice that it's big enough that we have a lot of storage and it makes the TV feel like a little less monstrous. And then in terms of the seating arrangement, so we entertain a lot and we're also here with the baby a lot. And we spend a lot of time in this room. So this couch is, we talk about longevity, this couch, I bought this for my studio apartment before Kurt and I moved in together, but it's a classic couch and super neutral. You'll see a lot in our house is neutral. And this just goes to show that if you buy a timeless, good, well-made couch, it can stay with you for 7-8 years. And it has just every apartment, every house, it just works. And then we bought this house and I was like, it looks like we bought it for this. And like, it's a little bit weathered and it definitely has like, you know, grown with us, but I'm just so happy that it works in this space because it has the chase lounge, so it's nice like with the baby if we're cuddling or like we have people over, and we have also this chair over here, so it's very conversational. So this room works really well for us. And we have this awesome fireplace too here, which has a gas insert, so we can just turn it on in the winter when we're like drinking our coffee or we're having friends over, and it just makes it super cozy and also just adds a lot of heat, which is awesome. One thing about our house that you'll notice is that the two places I bring in color primarily are in the art and in flowers. So it's a very neutral backdrop, and that was intentional when we were curating the house and just like picking pieces as I wanted it to feel really cohesive. And as you're walking through the house, it kind of just, every room feels like an extension of the next one. But our art is where we really like to make a statement and have high impact. So this piece is by an artist who's out of Sausalito, and she's amazing. And this piece is very bold, and it's something that has just, it catches your eye immediately when you walk in. It's abstract. It has like this really cool dimension to it and just like layered chalk and paint. And I think it's just amazing the way it plays with the different colors and the way the light bounces off of it throughout the day. And it's a lot of color when you think about the rest of our house, but I love it because art's a really cool way to bring in different colors. You can always take it off the wall and, you know, move things around. And I love that about art. It's like not like you're painting the entire wall. So we love this piece, and it's been with us in this, we got this in our apartment in San Francisco, and it's been in this house too. And it just, I think it will just be with us forever. This coffee table was actually, it's a vintage find. It has a stone top with these like awesome wood legs. And this is a great example of a piece that we had to wait for. We had a rattan basket coffee table that was, I originally bought because I was like, oh, I want something lightweight for the space that doesn't feel too bulky and just was very easy to navigate, but it wasn't really functional. Like you could barely put coffee on it. Like it's a coffee table, you gotta be able to put coffee on. So, and we sometimes eat in front of the TV. And so I saw this on Instagram, was able to make an offer from a vintage seller, and we were able to get it. And it's been such a great piece because we can put all their crap on it, but also it's just so nice to look at, and it's so sturdy and just a great, great table. And I love the stone top because it adds this like great texture. We're really into that earth tone, earthy material, and we have a lot of light wood and rugged wood, but like I love this stone that brings in that another layer of depth here. Feeling of home to me and creating this space together has been just an extension of like our life. Like I feel like depending on what season of life we're going through, I feel like our home has reflected that. And first when we moved here, we were like really into entertaining, which we still are, but I feel like we just wanted to make sure like this space was really functional for having people over. And I was all about making sure that just the guest experience was like top notch, which I still am. But then now it's like, the feeling of home, it's like we're focused on our family and making sure our daughter has places to play and has the space she needs and is happy here in our home. And it's just that feeling of your home grows with you. And I think it's not a static feeling of like, oh, this is how our home is always going to be. It's the evolution of like where we are. And For me, like coming home, I've always valued just having it be a serene space, a calm space, so that when we're here, we can just recharge, we can feel like our most authentic selves. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping people create their dream home, because I'm a big believer that you can have a very aesthetically pleasing and happy home that's also super functional for you and your family. Like, I don't think you have to compromise one or the other, and that's something that we've learned together too. And now, like, growing our family and all this fun things that are ahead of us, it's just nice to see that our house like has carried us through that season of life. So here we are in our dining room. This room is another very multifunctional room. We do a lot in this room. This is where we entertain. It's where some days like we'll work from home here. I always have things like laid out when I'm like in the middle of a project. This room really does feel like an extension of the living room, especially with this like great archway. I feel like it just really flows. Like, I love that when we're entertaining, if like people are in the living room and if other people in the dining room, it feels like we're all in one room. So it's just a very fluid space. And as well, it's like right off the kitchen, and I love when I'm cooking to still feel like I'm part of like the activities. So it's just, I really love the flow of these three rooms together. The nice thing about the dining room is that we get such good light at the end of the day. So I love around like that 5 p.m. in the summer months, like it just gets such great light, and the white walls, it just like plays around in the space. So it's just like, I feel like this becomes like a really, really happy room around like 5 p.m. Another great thing about this room is the shelves. So once again, great built-ins here, and styled these to be, just feel like super collected and fun, so that when we're eating, it's just like reminds us of like places we've been and traveled, as well as just treasures I've collected over the 3 years that we've lived here. One of my favorite pieces is on the bottom right, a confit pot from Provence. When we were there and we were just like exploring all the markets, and it just, every time I see that, it makes me so happy just to have that as a memory of that trip. So this painting is also by another local San Francisco artist, and we love this one because of the lemons. Our last name is Meyer, so we are big fans of the Meyer lemon, and that this was like our nod to the lemon. So when we saw this, we were like, this is perfect. So this French elm hutch, this was a great piece that just like shows you that there's just power in just waiting for the right piece. We actually had like a mirror and a console table here when we moved in, and I always just felt like it was a weird use of space, because I wanted something that made a statement here that was also functional. And it's a very white room. We have very white walls. So I wanted it to have some warmth and like to add some depth. So this was a Facebook Marketplace find of a woman who collects antiques from all over, but she like sources from estate sales. And I had to have it when I saw it. And I was like, this is everything I've been looking for in a hutch, because it has this awesome wavy glass. So it has ability to display some of our more like entertaining materials and some of our glassware, other ceramics that we have, but it also has closed cabinets, so we are able to hide a lot of like, there's like wine bottles in there. This is like literally our junk drawer. Like there's just like things that are like bottle openers, matchboxes, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like entertaining materials, but also like I feel like we have like phone chargers in there. So it's just nice that this is such a stunning piece, but it also serves such a purpose, and it also like adds such height to this room. And I was just like awesome. I think we bought this like about 1.5 years ago. So we'd already lived here for a year when I found it, and I was like, it just really brought the room together.
Yeah, when we're entertaining, this room acts as kind of a blank canvas for Becca, which is really cool. So every time we entertain, there's a different tablescape, different flowers, and kind of dependent on the season and which friends we're having over. So it's really cool to see her transform this room just through things like the tablescape, the flowers, and other things. So this room will oftentimes on Friday, Saturday nights look very different than it does right now. And I think playing off the neutral colors of this room is really fun for Becca, because you're able to transform it into a really cool, fun dining experience and entertainment experience for our friends. Becca and I originally had very differing tastes. That just being, in my days in the city, I didn't have any kind of taste. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know that a living place, a home could be a place that reflects your style and rejuvenates you. To me, a home meant a place to lay your head at the end of the day. So it's been an evolution of my style, and together we've kind of grown our what we like and what we don't like, and that's what makes this home so special. Is we've gone through the journey together, and then Becca brings it to life in an amazing way.
Yeah, I think too, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, this is so Becca, and like a lot of this is like, I would say like I'm definitely the one that's like coming up with ideas and concepts for the house, but it's always a partnership, and I'm always like, hey Kurt, what do you think of this? That being said, I have like shown up with a couple Facebook Marketplace finds unannounced and been like, this is our new touch. But Kurt's like grown to love them. But yeah, I mean it's been a journey. We've owned this house 3 years, and every piece we've taken our time with finishing it, and holding anything we keep and have kept, like even this couch we've had like since 3 apartments, and it's been in this house, and everything's super intentional, and we talk about it, and we make sure like if we're investing in something, it's a piece that's going to have longevity for us, because we just know that we love quality, and we want to make sure that these pieces are going to be with us. So that's why it has to be a partnership, and it has to be the two of us making these decisions. But it's fun too, like as we travel and like even having a baby, it's like I see the evolution of our style, and all of a sudden I'll be like, hey, like when I did Millie's nursery, I was like, I'm really feeling like we should, go with a little bit of a moodier vibe. And Kurt was like, okay, that's really not our style. The whole house is painted white. And it was kind of this conversation of like, no, I think this is like a cool direction, because it's going to be a very, serene place that we're going to be spending a lot of time. She's going to be napping in there. And it was awesome just that we could like bounce ideas off each other, and Kurt could be there to make sure I wasn't like crazy. And yeah, I don't think I've ever made a decision in the house that Kurt hasn't agreed with, or like we've talked about. So maybe a couple, but
yeah. But all that to say, this house would look very messy and very cluttered if I had any of the final decisions on the design of it. So I feel very fortunate to be living inside Becca's brain essentially here.
All right, and now let's head to the kitchen.
Welcome to our kitchen.
So this is one of my favorite rooms in the house, for sure. I spend a lot of time in here. I love to cook, but it's also like just the happiest room of our house. I mean, they're all happy, but this room I feel is when people come over, they're like, wow, like this is such a cute kitchen. But it is a small kitchen. It's about 250 square feet. So it has to be really, really functional with the use of space. And I kind of like a smaller kitchen, because when you're cooking, it's like you can get places faster. Everything's in arm's reach. But sometimes when we're entertaining and people like come into the kitchen with me and they're like talking, I'm like, I need you to move. But so I'm like, go back out there. But we have just great natural light that comes in, especially towards the end of the day when I'm like cooking dinner. We have this olive tree that's off of the window, and it just feels very much like we're in like a French farmhouse, I like to think, a Nancy Meyers movie, whatever it might be. Like it's just a very, very sweet space. And I would say like the number one thing that this kitchen is known for are the stained hardwood checkerboard floors. And it's just a very fun play on the hardwood floor, where it adds this just charming, pulls at the heartstrings feeling. I feel like no matter who comes over, they're like, oh my gosh, these floors. And I love that with the stain, you can still see the wood through the green checkers, but it just adds just a fun layer without it being like a checkerboard floor. So very, very sweet. The rest of the kitchen's pretty neutral, and it's just been a great space for me to style and play with like different kitchen materials. I love to style kitchens as a designer. I think kitchens are my favorite room to design, period. But for styling, because as a cook, I love to bring form with function. So I love things like these cutting boards. Like it just looks really pretty and adds layers to the kitchen, but it's like super functional. Like I'm using these cutting boards all the time, especially like making charcuterie boards for guests and all that good stuff. But like when you look at it, I'm like, oh, this just makes it feel like I'm in the French countryside or something like that. Another thing that I'm known for, or I'm just a big advocate for, is lamps in a kitchen. So you'll notice I have 2 lamps in here, and that is just my favorite way to bring an ambient light to the space and just make the kitchen feel super cozy when we're like doing the dishes at night or after the baby's down. It's just like having the lamps on like a candle. It just feels so great in here. And I think especially when you're in the kitchen, majority of the time we spend here is at the end of the day. I just love being able to have lamps on. So I am a huge proponent of anyone adding a lamp to their kitchen just to add that cozy element to a space. So the glass cabinets, we bought these with the house. So when we moved in, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't live with glass cabinets. That's crazy. I can't have everyone looking at all my stuff. But when we bought this house, weren't really able to make a ton of renovations just because we were like stressed ourselves when we bought it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to embrace my Nancy Meyers self and I'm going to make these most beautiful styled cabinets, but we also have to have these be all of our plates and all of our glassware. So it's been a fun project of like making things that we use every day be beautiful. And that's something I really believe in, is that when you're reaching for a glass, like it should be something that makes you happy. And I love that like everything we have is on display and it just adds another layer to the kitchen. So I've become like actually a huge fan of glass cabinets in a kitchen since then. I feel like I've come a long way, but sometimes we have a couple like dorky mugs that we've gotten at like a gas station on a road trip, that those have to go in another cabinet. So get to go with the Italian ceramics. But yeah, we still have stuff that makes us happy, but this has like been a very fun exercise for me in learning that you can have form and function together.
Every Sunday, Becca roasts a chicken, and she makes it a little different every single time, but that's something that I always look forward to. Is on Sundays, she'll roast a chicken and she'll use some of the herbs from our garden to flavor it, and that's just one of our traditions that I love. So on Sunday afternoons, the kitchen's always a really happy place where Becca's at work on our roasted chicken.
Yeah, I love like that experience of cooking, especially when like slow cooking something, how it makes the whole house smell like it. Like that's my like favorite thing, is to roast a chicken or slow cook short ribs, because it's like just such an experience that just amplifies our house and just makes it feel that much more cozy and just like us. In this kitchen, it's small, but I wanted every nook to be styled and usable by me. So another thing that I think is just a very fun way to add a styled flair to your kitchen, but still having it be functional. I love cookbooks in a basket, because this makes it not feel like there's just books on the counter. It feels like it's more of a moment. And you can see throughout our house, like I love using books to style anything, and the kitchen is no exception. It just adds this really lived in feel that I love in a kitchen, because like as someone who spends so much time here, just like every corner when I'm grabbing something, it makes me so happy. We have like another lamp here. This was a vintage find. I'm always just like finding random lampshades and lamp bases, and like I know that I'll meet their match. So it's like I feel like I found the base first and eventually got myself to the shade, and it's just like the perfect little antique moment here. A crock with wooden spoons is another one of my favorite styling kitchen moments, because it's super functional. Like I'm grabbing at salad tongs every night, but it has this like beautiful ceramic crock that makes me so happy on this antique Turkish riser. And I just love like the juxtaposition of the wood with the ceramics. And another thing I love encouraging people to get for their kitchens, or when I'm working with clients, is I love pepper grinders and just any type of like pepper mill, a really sweet olive oil bottle, because those are things that you reach for every day, but they can be these really special moments and feel very curated. Coming out of the kitchen, you come into this little pantry area that will lead to the garden, but this is a super functional space. We have our pantry, we have more storage for any of our like platters and so forth. We have like our brooms. What else do we have? Like medicine cabinet, all that good stuff. But what's really interesting is that we have our laundry in here. So this is our washer dryer. It's very, very efficient with space. And I think this was just like something when we were looking at the house, I was like, it just felt like very European to be like, have this like sweet small laundry area off of the kitchen. That being said, I think in our next house, we're looking forward to a slightly larger laundry area, but it's a very efficient and awesome use of space in such a small house.
For couples that are buying their first home, I think the first most important thing to do is to align as a couple on what you care about, and then you can kind of zero in on where there will be give and take, especially with a first-time home buyer. Your budget's going to be a little bit more limited, so you likely sacrifice one thing for another thing. In our case, we really put a strong emphasis on location and being in an area and neighborhood that we loved. And that came at the expense of size. Because we aligned on that early on in our home buying journey, there was no surprises and we were okay with a smaller home, and we had already kind of committed to that. So that'd be my recommendation to any first-time home buyers, is align on what you care about, and that'll make the process a lot easier and more enjoyable.
Yeah, we looked at a ton of homes too. I feel like it took us a while to realize that this was our home, because we did bigger homes in other areas and we were like, can we picture our life here? And so I think there's no harm in just looking and going, just making sure you figure out what you want, because you might not know until later on in your home buying journey that you're like, oh wait, location actually is number one for us, or actually space is number one, so we're gonna have to not look in this specific neighborhood. Because it took us a while to get to that place, but I feel like no matter what, location seems to be our favorite. Even when we travel, we'll always stay in like a smaller hotel or Airbnb in the neighborhood we want to stay in. So it's kind of like a theme in our life. With first-time homebuyers, it's a journey. Like first it's finding the home, and then you have to go through the process of closing, and then the furnishing and like decoration journey begins. And I tell everyone, just like take your time. Like there is no, like there is this feeling of like, okay, I gotta furnish it, I gotta fill the rooms, but there's so much fun in just taking time to really curate the pieces you want and like see how your family like lives in that space. Because there could be a room that you're like, oh, I picture this as an office, but then after a couple months of living there, you're like, oh, this makes no sense as an office. We're actually gonna swap this into be a guest room. And I learned that, like a couple things I learned the hard way with this house, where like we have a lot of bookshelves in this house, and the previous owner had an epic book collection and we didn't really have that, but like having these shelves was such a gift, and I like felt the need to like rush to Target or to Home Goods and like get a bunch of decor to fill them. But then I quickly realized, I was like, stopped myself, and I was like, I'd so much rather get intentional pieces from our travels and cool antique and vintage finds that have more meaning and soul, and fill those with the space, so that when I'm like looking at it at the end of the day, I'm like happy and proud of the shelves, and it tells more of our story. And that just takes time. So I think it's really patience, and having those conversations of like what is our style and like what's important to us. And we've lived here 3 years, and in some ways I'm like, we're just getting started finishing. So I don't think you want to hear that, but that's the truth. Now we're gonna head into the primary bedroom. So here we are in the primary bedroom. So this room is on the smaller side, but when we bought the house, we were like, we want a king bed. So that we were adamant of having a king bed, and we made it work. And I think like this is the room we're primarily sleeping in. So it is just a very like relaxing, serene space with a really nice bed, which was something that when we bought the house, people were like, you're not gonna be able to get a king bed in there, and we did. We made it work, but what I love about this room is it never feels small to me, because it's just an extension of the garden. We have this beautiful garden view. We always have the window open, like I feel like almost year round, except when it's raining, and you get like beautiful smells of the garden and also just this great view. And like the rest of the house, just kept it super neutral in here, so you could just feel like the garden just pop off the white walls and the neutral bedspread here. So this is just a very happy room. I love what we've done because it's really just a simple space. We have the bed, and then we also have these awesome vintage lamps that are giant. And the rule of thumb is usually you don't want your lampshade to be bigger than your nightstand. However, broke that rule because I had to have these lamps. I got them off Facebook Marketplace, and I came home, and I'm like, the texture that these have, they have the woven detail, the pleated shade, and it just plays off of the other woven elements in the room, and just it has these awesome cozy light that comes out of it, because it has like this really thick shade. So when we're in bed at night reading, it's just like a really, really serene vibe. This piece of art is actually from a local painter who painted the Marin Headlands, which is just like 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes, like 10 minutes up the road. So we love this piece. It just reminds me of like our weekends. Like you'll always see us just like taking the dog and the baby hiking, going to see the beach. So I really love that this color palette and just this view just feels very much like what inspired most of the design direction of this house. For the piece above the bed, when we moved in, I wanted something that added texture, and I'd seen framed tapestries and famed fabrics and just like woven materials all over. And I was like, oh, I want to find something that will work perfectly with this room. And I could not find one that was like in our price range that felt like something that represented this space. So I ended up doing it myself. So all I did was I actually just bought fabric by the yard here, and I loved the shapes and the movement of the texture of this tapestry here, and then cut it down to be framed and matted into this like white oak frame.
And one thing I love about the space as well, back to the point of making every square inch of this home count, is you very rarely see cables on anything. So we have lamps and we have TVs and we have all the usual things that other people have, but we make an effort to hide the cables just to declutter and make it a really peaceful environment. So I think that's just a small touch that really helps. All right, let's go next door to see Millie's nursery.
All right, welcome to Millie's room. So this is our daughter's nursery, and this room was originally the guest room and also an office hybrid when we moved in, and I always envisioned it that it would be our first child's nursery. And I was planning my nursery before I was even pregnant, but the minute we found out she was a girl, I was like off to the races with planning this space. And I knew I wanted to play on just a feminine pink vibe, but we do have this redwood tree that is directly off of our house, which is very special because here in Marin County, redwoods are like our trademark. And I love the idea that like our daughter would like go to bed every night under this redwood tree, but it does block a lot of light. So this room was painted white like the rest of our house, and I really wanted to wallpaper the walls. And Kurt and I were talking, and he's like, that's gonna like really impact the vibe of this room, and it's gonna be a little bit more moody. And I was like, I think that's what we want. I think this is gonna be just a very sweet space where we're spending a lot of time. She'll be napping, we'll be feeding her, and we just kind of wanted it to have this like zen, just relaxing, special space for her. And that's what it became. And so it definitely has that same neutral, it's not like in your face pink, but I did want it to feel special and whimsical and something that she could grow up with. And the first thing I actually found when designing the nursery was actually this chandelier. It is an antique French chandelier that I found on Etsy, and it was just reminding me of like my own childhood, and it has like pinks and greens and a little bit of yellow. And I was like, that's it. Like, I'm just gonna start with that, and then I'm just gonna go from there. So that was kind of defined the color palette from there. It was gonna be pink and green, and then I slowly was like, I think we're just gonna do all pink. I found this wallpaper from Sandberg. It is just, I love the botanical feel that it almost feels like it's growing in front of you, and from far away you're kind of like, you can see the pattern, but as you get closer, all the details come out at you. Like there's all these different flowers and weeds, and I love that that's special as a child to grow up with a wallpaper that you could like look at every day and like see different things and like play I Spy with the different flowers. And so this wallpaper was the next decision I made, and then it was really coming down to the trim. I wanted to do a play on statement trim. So I've probably looked at like 10, 12 pink paint samples, and this is actually ironically called Just Beige by Benjamin Moore, which is funny because our house is all beige, and I love that they call this Just Beige because it is a beigeier pink, so of course I was drawn to it. But it's this really fun mauve-y, purplish, beigey pink, and decided to paint the trim, the ceiling, and the built-in bookcases this color to pop against the wallpaper. And I just love the way it feels so cohesive and just like custom to her. So much of this room, like the rest of our house, is inspired by antiques and by vintage treasures. Millie was popular in the 20s and 30s, so it kind of had this like almost like grandma core like vibe to it, where I was like, okay, like I already felt that this nursery needed to have this like timeless feel to it, and this wallpaper did feel a little bit like it could have been really popular, in the mid-century, like even like 20s, 30s, like when Millie's name was popular, even though it is rising in popularity now. But I loved that I kept coming back to antique items. So once I kind of landed the wallpaper and the trim color as well as the shelves, I found a couple things. These plates were from different places. Some are from Etsy, one is from an estate sale, one's from a flea market. And I kind of picked them up separately, and they all just go together so well, and they have this like fun pink and floral element, and it just felt like a tea party. And I loved that she grew up with this like kind of just like playing pretend, like very girly feminine plates on her wall. I think plate walls are such a fun way when you don't have art to bring in just like a fun element to have on the walls. So that felt very sweet in here. The shelves, like every room in our house, these shelves were here when we moved in, which was really fun because I originally was like, should we knock them down so we have more space in the nursery? But I was like, how cool to have like a display case of all these sweet treasures I can collect for her. So as I was pregnant and like at different toy stores or things that were gifts from friends and family, I was able to add things that I would want on display for her. There are like books that we've read to her, as well as just like nostalgic elements, like this rocking horse was something I found in an antique store, and I was just like, I have to have that for her nursery. And there's also toys that she'll play with someday, like really sweet stuffed animals. And styling these shelves was just such a special moment as an interior designer, and being pregnant, which is like so long, and you're just like so excited to have your baby. And I just like every day would come in here and just like dream of all the times that we'd spend in here. And now having her here and sitting in here and looking at all these toys and just like dreaming with her, it's just like, it's so fun to have these shelves to look at. So these were definitely a labor of love, and like probably one of my favorite projects I worked on. So yeah, most of these things are things that I just like have found. I kept playing with like that pink color and like different like feminine pieces. This was really special. This is actually Kurt's boutonniere from our wedding that we had pressed, and I just love that she would have that in her room with her. It's just like a piece from our wedding, and it just like looks so special in here. It goes like perfectly with the wallpaper. So I love that that is next to all of her toys and just something that we can tell her about someday. This wardrobe was something I had to find early on. So this closet here is actually still Kurt's closet. So Kurt and I have separate closets in the 2 bedrooms of the house. And so I knew that we wouldn't have closet space for our daughter. So I was like, okay, I need to find like a very cute wardrobe armoire. And I found this on Facebook Marketplace from an antique store out of Santa Cruz actually, and I couldn't believe it. It was like so perfect. I love the little sweet heart motif at the bottom. It just felt very storybook and very childlike. Kurt actually grew up in the south of Germany in Bavaria, and this felt like very Bavarian to me, like very something that he grew up with in his house, and reminded me of a piece that my grandma had. And I was just like, okay, this is like too good to be true. So I was able to find this, and it fit perfectly like in between the 2 doorways. So this is where all of her clothes and some of her toys are. So it's just a really fun piece. And what I love about this is it can grow with her throughout her life. Like it can, you know, be in her room forever, or it can be in another child's room. So I think when you're investing in a nursery, it's like important that you're getting things that can really grow with your child, that won't just be like theirs when they're a baby. This was another antique find. I did not want to get a traditional changing table. I really did want to get a dresser that could grow with her and be in her room for however long she wants it to be there. So this sweet changing basket sits on top of this, and then it can, you know, go to another kid or be in her room, but without being like a traditional changing table. It also has great storage. These drawers are where we keep like diapers and all of like some of her other clothes, burp cloths, all that good stuff. I think just having a antique item in your child's room is so great because it's just very durable. This is real wood, it's nice elm, and I think it's just something that like it can patina and age with her, and it's very beautiful, but I'm not worried about it getting kind of rusted up. Other thing when designing a nursery that I think is critical is like comfortable seating. I know that as a designer, but also now as a mom, I'm like, oh, you really need a nice place to sit. You spend a lot of time feeding, rocking, even sometimes now with Millie in her crib, one of us will sit here with her as she falls asleep. So I love this chair. It's from Namesake. It is like this beautiful boucle glider that It's actually a recliner too. And when Kurt first sat in it, he's like, oh my gosh, can we have one of these in the living room too? Because it's so comfortable. But it's just been a great piece for this room that I've spent a lot of time in. And I also just love that it's a great neutral color, and it is a really durable fabric. So it's been with her like spitting up and just like milk and all that stuff. It's just been easy to clean, which is another thing with kids. You want things to be functional and able to clean. That's key. And so this is Millie's crib. So this is probably the one piece that isn't vintage or antique. This was a new crib, but I loved that it had these like sweet spindles and it felt kind of vintage inspired and went with the rest of the vibe of the room. It just felt very sweet and special. So the art here are these botanical prints that I wanted to get framed in these like lovely brass frames. And I love that they play off the wallpaper. It's just like, she has these like she has the garden view out her windows, and I love that this all just feels like it's like her little secret garden here. This is a Turkish rug. I purchased this like around the time I bought the chandelier actually, because I wanted something that had a lot of color in it. I actually had not picked the wallpaper at that time, so I actually was like unclear what direction I was gonna go with the walls, but I love that there was just a lot of color and dimension in this, that I could go any direction. There's like blues, there's pinks, there's a little green, and that felt really fun. I just also like, I love the quality of a vintage rug. I also love that this pattern with things spilling, and just like kids being kids, like a vintage rug is just so durable and good that the stains kind of blend in with the design of the rug. Okay, now I'll take you out back to our cottage. On the way to the cottage, I wanted to show you our garden. So this is like our second living room, I'd say. Like, we spend so much time out here. Gets great sunlight throughout the day, and we just love like reading out here. We bring Millie out here to play. We eat out here. It's just like such a great extension of our house.
The former owner of the house was an avid gardener, so we inherited a lot of her original plants. But we've kind of added our own flair to it and made it our own, of removing a few things and adding a few things. But this is a really happy place for us, and a little sanctuary, very peaceful back here.
Yeah, it was such a gift to inherit mature plants and mature trees and just be able to layer on top of the existing beautiful garden. If you know anything about gardening, like starting from nothing, it's always a very daunting process. You'd be very patient, but for us, it was like we were already starting in such a great place. And there were so many plants here that both of us grew up with and just like felt very drawn to. Like when we toured the house for the first time, we saw that it had a Meyer lemon tree. We're like, oh, it's too good to be true. Us being the Meyers, so we knew we had to have it. So we love having a lemon tree. We also have our herb garden over here. We're growing tomatoes right now as well. I love to cook, so having access to fresh herbs is just such a gift and something I've always dreamed of. And we also have this like 30-year-old Japanese maple tree. It is stunning and just like offers a great canopy of shade, so that when we have people out here, we don't always have to be sitting in the sun. We actually like don't even need an umbrella out here because we have such great shade options. Right now we're in August, so our garden is just like in full effect. Like our hydrangeas are just like beautiful right now, and I'd say that we like a less manicured garden and more like wild and kind of a little grown in. Like I like when we're out here, it kind of just feels like you're in your own little garden oasis, your own little world. We're standing in our cottage now. This was originally the garage that the previous owner had converted into a guest cottage. So we are very lucky to have this space because it really serves as a lot of things for us. This couch is a sofa bed, so it pulls out into a queen size mattress, which is nice for when we have guests stay with us. There's also a bathroom in this cottage, which is awesome. So guests have their own space. One of us is always like working in here. This is also our office space and workout area. We have the Peloton and some other workout equipment out here. So this is really multi-purpose, and you're just like off the garden, and it's like a very sweet little room. And every time we have guests stay with us, I feel like they're like, oh, this is such a special area. Like we have this awesome peaked ceiling, and you have like the plants of the garden and all the beautiful flowers right off of you, so it feels like you're just in your little Marin cottage. So this room, I feel like we had a lot of ideas with this cottage. We wanted it to feel different than the house, but one thing we're inspired by is like the West. We were both born on the West Coast, and we spent a lot of time road tripping around Utah, Montana, Wyoming, and we really felt like this should be kind of like our cowgirl room, but you know, that's loosely interpreted. But the one thing that we did definitely want to hang here, which I think is like the perfect spot for it, is this cow skull that we actually found at this random store on the side of the road in Moab, Utah. And it was one of those things that we hadn't even bought the house yet, right? And we were like, we need this cow skull, like it will go somewhere. And I think it's just like the perfect area for it to hang. And a lot of the other art in this room, I kind of like was like leaning into more of the Western vibe, still in the neutral palette, but wanted it to feel just kind of like our more Western side.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite parts of our house, in that we're able to make it an office as well as a gym, which are two things that were really important to us, and combining the two pretty seamlessly, where you can't even tell that it is a gym, because per Becca's organization and decluttering skills, everything has a place, and when it's time to work out, I know where to find all my gym equipment. So this is a really happy room for us. So what does home mean to me? To me, that the answer is fluid. I think it changes as our lives change and grow and evolve. You know, when we first moved into our home meant a place to entertain and have our friends over. In more recent months, we place a higher value on rejuvenation and charging our batteries. So currently, home to me means a place where I can come and have my batteries filled. So to me, a home can mean a lot of different things, but ultimately it's reflective of what you are going through in your current life and how your home can help you build a better life based on whatever your values are at that current time. And Becca's done such an amazing job of creating that for us at our different stages of life, from first moving into our new home with limited furniture to now raising our newborn baby girl.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a backdrop of your life. So I think that no matter what, your home is going to be where you are every day, and it just has to be a reflection of you and help tell your family's story. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do and making our home feel very special, because we're here all the time and it's just where we come back to, and it just makes us so happy.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Alec.
And I'm Arden, and welcome to our first home in Dallas. Come on in.
Welcome to our newest Homeworthy series called Our First Home, where we meet young lovebirds who are building their first nest together.
Now we're the Taylors.
We're married.
These couples have both charming love stories and lovely homes.
It just feels great to be not only building a home, but building a life together.
So prepare to be swept off your feet by these incredible pairs and the places they call home. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Alec Keating. I'm the partner of a real estate development company, Keating Resources.
And my name is Arden Keating, and I'm an aspiring interior designer, and welcome to our first home. So today we're in our home in Dallas, Texas. It is a 4-story townhome with an additional rooftop in the historic neighborhood of St. Thomas.
So how did we meet? How did we fall in love? Arden and I met at SMU when we were freshmen, and we started dating when we were 19.
A few months ago, we got married at San Ysidro Ranch in Santa Barbara, and it was the most magical day. We were surrounded by all of our favorite people and family members in a really intimate, private ceremony with dinner and dancing to follow. It was everything I could have ever imagined, and I was so happy with how everything had turned out.
And it was just seamless, which not all weddings are, and we were really grateful for that. We went on our honeymoon to England. Despite living in Texas, we actually prefer colder weather, and spent our honeymoon in the English countryside, in the Cotswolds, Oxfordshire, and then ended in London. And it was just the wedding was the most perfect day, and those 2 weeks alone with my wife were, really special. What led us to choose this home? We love the neighborhood. State Thomas is really the only walkable neighborhood in Dallas. It has a very European feel, and when we bought this home, we were 23, and we just wanted a townhome, and this one in particular was pretty new, and it was just a blank slate, a white box, which gave Arden the perfect opportunity to style it.
So welcome to our living room / kitchen area. This is one of my favorite spaces in the home just because it is where we always have friends over and family over, and we get to cook and hang out, and it just has beautiful natural light with also a lot of eclectic details. So this room just makes me really happy. So the very first time I ever stepped into this space, there were no design elements at all. It was a completely white box, which was great because I was able to do whatever with it, but it also didn't give me much of a direction. So coming up with a design that fit the space and fit the rest of the home was a little challenging, but we decided to make all of this beautiful wall molding that we had done because this wall is huge and it has no windows on it. And so to give it a little bit of architectural design and break up the two spaces, I thought that adding the wall molding would be a really nice touch, and I've always loved how it's turned out. And we've actually continued that through the rest of the home, and you'll see that later on the tour. One of my favorite pieces in the living room is this coffee table. It is incredibly heavy, so once it was placed, it does not move. But I love all the beautiful natural marbling, and it just is a neutral but has a little bit of color that ties into the rest of the room. My favorite things to do when I'm decorating a space is mix old and new together because I feel like it tells a little bit of a story and gives a more authentic feel to your home. So one of my thrifted pieces that I have found here in Dallas is this beautiful Louis XVI chest from an antique store. It is a little beat up, but it is still beautiful, and I think it adds so much character to our home. I had a lot of fun when I was styling this piece in this space because I started with this Hermes scarf that Alec actually got me for my birthday one year, and it kind of resembles a map, and so I thought it would be a really beautiful piece if we had it framed and hung here. But I also love this vintage map, and I thought it would be really cool to kind of layer the two here and give another dimension to the table. I also love this vase from Blueprint. It is one of my favorite pieces just because it adds a little bit of a vintage flair, but also paired with the modern snake lamp. That's just kind of how my brain works a lot of times when I'm designing a space, is mixing the old and new throughout. I really like mixing patterns and textures and colors with pillows. And I actually got these at one of my favorite consignment shops here in Dallas on consignment, and it's walking distance, so it's a little bit dangerous for me, but I found these and they're just beautiful custom pillows, and they work perfectly in this space, especially paired with just a plain velvet kind of luscious pillow. This is one of my favorite couches in our home just because it's this really beautiful gray / taupe velvet, and it's extremely comfortable even though it looks a little stiff, but it works so well for just lounging throughout the day. And I love it paired with a more natural rug. It just has a nice juxtaposition to the different styles. So over on this side of the room, we have this beautiful credenza that's a little bit more modern, but I've paired it with this vintage print that is actually one of my favorite pieces in the entire house, because the driver of this car is my great-grandfather, and this is his vintage 1927 Rolls-Royce Phantom 1, which is the same car that my grandfather drove me in our wedding in Santa Barbara this year. This car has been in my family for over 60 years, and throughout its time with us, it has driven roughly 50 couples on their wedding day, so it's incredibly special to be able to be driven by my grandfather and my dad to our ceremony in Montecito. So similar to the other side of the room, I have this beautiful vintage lamp that I got from a consignment store next to our favorite Marshall speaker that's a little bit of a retro style. We just love having music throughout the house during the day, and so it's nice that it looks so beautiful on the console table. So one of the most show-stopping pieces in this living room is our beautiful chandelier. It just glistens and glows in a perfect way and really helps bring down the ceiling and provides a lot of warmth, but also really fun, unique design element. So right behind our couch is our console table that I have styled with a fun just book stand that people can kind of flip through. This photo right here is actually taken at Squaw Valley in Lake Tahoe, which is very sentimental to our family. So I love having that open and having that retro picture there. This is a really fun piece. It is a menu from the Pickle Room in Santa Barbara, which is where we had our after party. One of our friends surprised us with it a couple weeks after our wedding, and I just loved how fun of a memory that was to have in our home. And right next to the menu, we have our custom wedding candle that we had burning at our wedding, as well as gifting it to all of our guests. And I love having this on recently just because it brings back all those beautiful memories from a couple months ago. So welcome to our kitchen. I love this space. I probably spend the most of my time here just because I love to cook almost every single meal every day. When I first walked into this house, like I said earlier, it was a white box, including the cabinets, and I really wanted to add a lot of dimension to the space. So we decided to paint the cabinets black, add the brass hardware to give it a little bit more of a vintage feel. We also recently installed these beautiful pendant lights. They used to be can lights, and I just love the way that they bring the ceiling down and add a lot more warmth to the space. One of my favorite design elements in the kitchen is this wallpaper mural that I actually installed myself, which I don't necessarily recommend, but I got it done. I also have paired this beautiful vintage frame on top of it to kind of frame out different elements of the wallpaper. I just love the color that it brings into this space against the white and the black. Admittedly, I'm a trial and error DIYer, and that was no exception with this wallpaper. So there was a lot of figuring out as I go, and I just love how it turned out. And I have not attempted wallpaper since, but I am looking to do so in the green room in maybe a couple months. I always loved the look of layering art on wallpaper, although I didn't want to cover up any of this beautiful scene. So I loved the idea of taking a frame that had no picture in it and then just framing out different aspects of the actual wallpaper. This is our dining table that we use for pretty much everything, whether it's formal or casual daily dinners. And I just love the scale and how it commands this space. I decided to pair it with this mirror on this back wall. As previously stated, there are no windows on this wall, and I really wanted to add some dimension and make it look like that is a window peering outside. So originally when we were talking about what to put in this third square, my husband really wanted a piece of art, and I was a little bit hesitant because I didn't want it to look too repetitive with a picture there, a picture here, and a piece of art there. And so we looked for almost 3 years trying to find just the perfect piece. And a couple months ago, we were looking around Dallas and we saw this piece by Stephanie Strange. And I just loved how it blended in with the white wall, but also had a little bit of dimension, so it wasn't as stark as a black and white print or a mirror or a colored print or anything like that. So I love how this kind of blends into the wall, but also adds a little bit of character. And when you get up close to it, it really has a ton of detail. So it's really beautiful to look at. And now we're gonna go see the half bath, so follow me. And here we are at the half bath, which is on the same floor as the living and kitchen area. I added this beautiful Faro and Ball green wallpaper. Green is a theme in our house. It's my favorite color, so you'll be seeing a lot of that. And I wanted to add a lot of gold accents to kind of pick up the gold bees on the wallpaper. I've also painted this cabinet in a beautiful kind of mauve-y purple that is really nice and contrasting, but also blends the countertop as well. This mirror is a vintage mirror that I found at an antique shop and had installed as well, and I think it fits the space perfectly. We also have a collection of maps. My husband Alec loves different vintage maps, and so I kind of put all of his favorite ones in this bathroom, and it has a really kind of vintage feel against the modernness of the bee wallpaper.
So when it comes to design decisions, it's all Arden. Of course, I'm here to opine and help if she needs it, but most of the time she does not.
Which makes it really easy for me because I don't really have any pushback, which is really nice. My favorite space in our entire home is this room right here, because it has such beautiful natural light, but it's also where we spend most of our time because we love to cook. And it's just nice for one of us to be sitting here and still be able to see each other while someone's cooking. And it's just a space that all of our friends gather all the time.
My favorite space is the green room, which you'll see later. And I love it because it's our lounge room, it's our movie room. It's a place that I can go and watch all my favorite TV shows, movies, and just really relax after a long day.
The original vision for our home was more of a modern Parisian style, although throughout the years and our travels, I've been really inspired by all of our travels. So now our home really reflects a more eclectic style where I've blended different places and pieces that I've just loved over the past few years. Okay, let's head upstairs and I'll take you to our primary bedroom. So here we are in our primary bedroom. My entire inspiration for this room was to try to replicate a 5-star European hotel. And we started off with this wrought iron bed frame and paired with the beautiful curtain in the background. I also love when hotels have little sconces that are just a nice, cute touch that add a little bit of character. We recently upgraded all of our bedding to Boll and Branch. I believe it is the Reserve line, and it is absolutely amazing and extremely comfortable and feels just like the best hotel bed. And on this side of the room, we have this really cute little settee that's a little bit more modern or mid-century modern, which I love pairing with more of the eclectic kind of vintage elements in the rest of the room. I love these bedside tables just because it has a lot of drawers that you can put all your chargers in when you're not using them, so it always looks super clean and crisp. I also just replaced these lampshades they used to be a black drum, which was very beautiful, but I wanted something that showed a little bit more light through, and I love how it kind of creates these stripes, which I tend to use stripes a lot throughout the room, and it mimics the stripes on the other elements, but with light instead. So this is one of my favorite corners in our home just because it features this adorable little pig that was gifted to us from San Ysidro Ranch. And the significance of it is in ancient Chinese culture, having a pig in your home meant that your home was protected and hopefully brought you a bountiful life. This little pillow always makes me smile. It was a gift from one of my best friends, and it says, "The best things in life are free and the second best are very expensive." And I completely agree. Okay, now let's head over to the green room and we'll meet Alec there.
Welcome to the green room. Like I said earlier, this is my favorite room. It's the perfect place for me to relax, lounge, watch movies with friends and my wife. When we first bought this home, this room, I think the right way to say it is it lacked character. And Arden's really made it the most peaceful place in the house for me. Couple things I love about this room are these two posters right here, Chicago and San Luis Obispo. I'm from Chicago, my wife Arden's from San Luis, so it's just a little ode to our hometowns.
So one of the really fun elements in this room, because it functions mostly as a movie room, is this little vintage bar cart that I kind of turned into a little candy cart. And we have little cups here and a little scoop, and you can take all of your favorite candy and then go back down and sit and watch your movie. When we first moved in, this bar was existing, although it didn't have any of this really interesting shelving. I found someone on Etsy who hand makes all of this and ships it to you, and we had it installed. One of the first things we really did in the house, because I just knew that the space needed a really cool shelving unit, whether it was for decorations or glassware or whatever we wanted to store up there. We also recently had these vintage inspired bar lights hung. They really reminded me of an old school bar or diner, and I thought it would be a fun element to kind of bring into this room. These bar stools are some of my favorite in our house just because the masculine tone of them with the leather and the metal really fits the rest of the space, but also the brass matches with the shelving unit, so I think it's all very cohesive. I also love a bar stool that has a back as opposed to just a stool. So these are actually not just beautiful, but also very functional.
My favorite piece in this room is this chaise, and it's my favorite piece because I had it in my bedroom growing up, and it's just such a timeless piece, and I'm really glad that we're able to incorporate it into our home today.
I love having this console in this space just because, similar to the bar stools, it feels very masculine with this interesting like cut wood tone. But I also love how it brings in a little bit more of a design element, and it brings interest alongside the actual TV. So you're not just focused on the TV, but you're also focused on this beautiful wood center console. I've been loving this new centerpiece that I just found from actually a classmate of mine who started a store, and this is from her website called The Favorites. It is incredibly cool and high quality, and I just love it paired right here. You can also move it around, and I hope one day when I'm hosting something that I can fill it with all different types of snacks, and it would just be a really interesting way to serve your guests. So when I was thinking about this room, I really wanted it to be a functional space, but also that felt extremely plush and comfortable for everyone. And so when we decided on this couch, I wanted a very large scale ottoman so that you could actually push it up against the couch or in the corner and kind of create multiple chaises for other people if you have 3 or 4 people on this couch. And this is the perfect size, and it's incredibly comfortable, and I love this fabric. It is a little bit of a modern cheetah print in a way. It also functions as a neutral even though it is a print, which is a fun way to add some pattern and texture into this room. One of the newest additions to this space is this moon globe light fixture. At night, it's really cool because I put it on a dimmer, and so you can turn off all the lights in here and it just softly glows kind of like the moon. And it's very dark in here because of the green paint, and so it kind of reminds you of being a little bit outside and just being really cozy. Throughout the whole home, we have continued all of the wall molding, and that was really important to us to keep it cohesive and a nod to the original design of the modern Parisian style. And we chose this beautiful green color by Farrow & Ball because it is, again, Alec and I's favorite color. And it just creates such a moody design in this room and really adds to the overall feel.
My advice for first-time home buyers is, you have to understand that owning a home is a big commitment. Emotionally, financially, things are always breaking. It's expensive to own a home, and you're going to be in your home for a while, so you want to make sure you do your due diligence, study as many homes as possible, find the neighborhood that you want to be in, and make sure that it's a place you'd want to be for a decade, even if you end up moving after 2 years. Just make sure that you find the right place for you.
My piece of advice for any first-time home buyers is to really focus on the quality of your home, not necessarily the interior design, because you will be able to change that over time, whereas you're not going to be able to go back and change the quality of your home, and if you do, it's going to be very expensive. So I would focus on what the bones are and not necessarily what the style is. So this is our guest room right off of the green room, and I love this room even though it's very different from the rest of our house. It's a lot lighter, brighter, more colorful, but it's nice to have a little bit of a change for our guests. One of my favorite elements in this space is this beautiful print by Gray Malin of Plage Keller in the south of France, and it just makes me happy every single time I look at it. Because this room gets so much natural light, I wanted to keep it very light and airy in contrast to the green room, which is much more moody, much more cozy. This is just like a breath of fresh air every time I walk in it.
What does this home mean to me? I think that, all relationships can be difficult, and we were together for 6 years, and I think that our relationship after moving into this home really blossomed, and it feels like it's been perfect ever since, which is a really special feeling. And this is where we're gonna have our first child. We built this home together, or we did the interior design together, and it's just a place that I never want to sell because it has so much sentimental value to me, just because of everything that we've experienced here together.
I definitely agree with everything that you just said, but in general, I think home to me is a place where you feel comfortable having all of your friends over or family and having a spot to entertain and just make memories together.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Ella.
I'm Birch.
And welcome to our first home here in Rome, Georgia. Come on in.
Welcome to our newest Homeworthy series called Our First Home, where we meet young lovebirds who are building their first nest together.
Now we're the Taylors.
We're married.
These couples have both charming love stories and lovely homes.
It just feels great to be not only building a home, but building a life together.
So prepare to be swept off your feet by these incredible pairs and the places they call home. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
My name is Ella Gibbons, and I work in marketing.
My name is Birch Gibbons, and I'm an appraiser.
Welcome to our first home. Birch and I have known each other for a little over 10 years. We met our freshman year of high school. We were just friends and then
Sophomore year?
Started dating pretty much immediately after we turned 16 and been together ever since.
Our proposal was on the House of Dreams at Berry College.
Here in Rome.
And I don't think we did a great job of making it a surprise because you have to drive up about a 2-mile gravel road and there's only one thing at the top of it, and that's the House of Dreams. So I think from the time we pretty much got to Berry and got on the road, Ella
He had me blindfolded and we're going up this rocky road.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't tell me where we were. We got engaged in June of 2021. And knew that we wanted to get married around June 2022.
A year,
yes.
A year after.
So that gave us a year to renovate this house. So we were kind of on a tight timeline, really, given the amount of work we felt like we needed to do. So it was a lot, planning a wedding, and we had both started our first jobs at the time and we were straight out of college.
Yeah.
I loved the wedding planning process. My mom and I had so much fun. I knew I wanted a blue and white themed wedding, which I think is very, very popular now. And so we called it our ginger jar wedding. My mom and I, and Birch, you were helpful.
I think y'all bought about every ginger jar you came across that year.
In the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
And now it's fun because they're kind of sprinkled throughout our home and it's a sweet reminder of a really special day.
We're in Rome, Georgia. We're in a 1960s ranch style house. We're in an older neighborhood with a lot of houses like ours.
I love our neighborhood. We knew when we were looking at buying a home that the area was just as important as the house we found. And I'm just really proud of how everything has worked out. Welcome to our foyer. This is the main entrance of our home. When we first bought this house, there was wallpaper throughout the entire hallway. And it was kind of peeling in places, and so we quickly, tried to remove that, and only to find more wallpaper underneath it. So this was a labor of love. And originally I wanted to wallpaper the hallway in something different until I realized how much wallpaper cost. So instead, we DIY'd this molding all over the walls and took a lot of measuring and a lot of cutting, but I think it was totally worth it and it added just enough to the hallway. I've got this great entry table from Target actually, and it was just fun to kind of put little trinkets on there. And then a lot of art pieces that you will find in our home I have done just because we're newlyweds on a budget. So that's been really fun to hang throughout our home. We both love art and original art, so we're kind of excited to add to our collection in the future. Now I'd love to show you our dining room. Follow me. So welcome to our dining room. We often refer to this as the front room just because it's a pretty large room in our home and we felt like we could fit more than just a dining room table in here. Our house is on the smaller side, so we really tried to maximize the space that we have. And something that I've enjoyed doing for years is collecting plates. When we were in college, I would buy them and just store them in drawers. So when you have older walls that have a lot of imperfections on them from, patching holes and everything. This is a great way to cover those. And it was really affordable too. I probably paid, anywhere from $1 to $10 for most of these plates. So it's been fun to add to over the years. This is our dining room table. We got this from a thrift store for a really great price. It came with these chairs, and then we added 2 Ballard Design Parson chairs to the end. I've kind of gone back and forth on whether or not I would like to replace these or not to match, but for now I like them, and they're we just recovered the seats in velvet, so they're great for now. I really like to set the table. This has been really fun to switch out over the seasons. So right now I just have colorful, I think these are from Anthropology plates, and then I ended up just ordering these white scalloped plates off of Amazon. We have white dinner plates, but we eat off of those every day, so these were kind of nice to just have out. This is one of my favorite artists in Rome. She makes pottery, and her name is Cabell, and it's Cabell's Pottery in Rome, so you'll see a lot of that throughout our home. It's really fun to collect when she has her sales here, I think twice a year. Over here we have all of our ginger jars from our wedding. My mom and I had a lot of fun collecting these when, in the months leading up to our wedding. And it's really sweet to have them displayed on our shelves. Just every time we walk past them, we think about our wedding. And at our reception, we had all of these ginger jars filled with flowers on all of the tables. So these are only about half of them, because after the wedding, my mom and I had to kind of sort through them to see who got to keep which ones. So she has the other half in her house, which is really fun. But I also have a lot of photos over here, just of family and friends. Actually, mostly family. A lot from our wedding, some from high school, just sweet little trinkets I like to display. I love when I walk into someone else's home and I can see photos of them and their family with their friends. I just think that that's really fun. So these are some of my favorite prints in our home. They're from a photographer named Ryan Smith, and he photographed kind of the 4 seasons of Rome. These were actually in my parents' house when I was growing up, and when they moved houses when I was in high school, they really never found another place for them, but my mom held on to them, and I just repainted the frames and hung them in here, and they're just really sweet. This is, they're kind of iconic landmarks of Rome. Probably my favorite is the ginkgo tree downtown. If you're a Roman, you know, kind of all go on ginkgo watch in the fall to see when all the leaves will fall at once, and it's really fun. These curtains are from Ballard Designs. If you're from or around Atlanta, there's a great Ballard Designs outlet there, I think in Marietta. So got these for a great price, and these are some of my favorite window treatments from Amazon. They're great. They just pull up and pull down, and they were a really affordable way for us to add window coverings. When we first bought the house, every window had a different set of blinds on them. I also ended up painting the windows too, so we kind of had to remove them anyways. But this is really one of the only rooms in our house that we painted a color. Usually I like to stick with neutrals and then add color with decorations, but we love this room and we love the molding that matches the walls.
So when we got here, I think it was yellow, and then we painted it this color, and we added the baseboards and the trim.
We did end up having to replace all of the floors.
Yeah.
When we bought the house, there was carpet in a lot of the rooms. This was not one of them, and so we suspected that there were hardwoods throughout the whole house. They ended up being throughout the whole house except for in the living room and the kitchen, which is one room, and it's the biggest room in the house. and it was also level with the hardwoods that were already in place. So we couldn't really add hardwoods in there without adding a step. So we tried refinishing them, and we were going to tile that room, even though that wasn't really my first choice. But there was kind of some water damage on the floors, so we ended up having to replace them anyways, and we replaced them with birch, which I just think is so funny.
This was the desk we had talked about that, you know, we bought it at an estate sale, and, you know, most college students don't really have a need for this type of thing, but we bought it and we had it for a couple of years before we moved in. It fit in here great, so that's what we ended up doing with it being needing to fill this space with the dining room area. So
yeah, also this rug is from an estate sale that we got for a really good price. We were so excited about it, and it was such an exciting day when we finally got to roll the rug out. We actually bought this rug before we ever bought this house.
yeah,
And it fits in this room perfectly.
yeah,
It was
it's a really big rug, and it's great that it worked out for this area because it would kind of be hard in a lot of houses to find somewhere to put something like this. So.
This chair was actually my grandfather's chair, and I had it recovered for one of my rooms in college, which is just so funny to me that that's how I spent my money in college, was recovering furniture.
Yeah.
But I hung our diplomas above it from the University of Alabama, where we both went. So you'll see a lot of Alabama things sprinkled throughout our home. We knew, being straight out of college without a lot of money, that we would need to get
Limited. We'd be rather limited.
We were limited. It was hard. Thankfully, so we bought this in what, 2021?
Yeah.
March of 20?
I think it was May, yeah.
May 2021. And we had looked at it in February of that year. We had looked at a couple other houses from the outside, but never got far enough along in the process to do an indoor tour.
Yeah.
Most of the other ones were abandoned houses.
Yeah, we had looked at a house, and we're very glad we didn't end up buying it because it needed a lot more work than we originally realized. But we had heard about this house, and we came and looked at it, and it took us a little while, but we did finally, you know, get it closed, and we were able to buy it. So that was really exciting to be able to have a house so soon out of college, and, you know, as we were getting ready to get married.
It's just really exciting to have a home that we feel brings so much joy and just a place to come home to at the end of the day. We also did probably 90% of the renovations on our own, and so we really had to be patient throughout this, which is hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But it was so worth it, and I think that we've just put so much, you know, sweat equity in this house that it just really feels like ours. I think, you know, family was huge. My dad helped us a ton. You know, he in really everything, but especially in things that you can't see, like the duct work. He completely redid that, and that's a huge deal because, I mean, that affects the air you breathe
Yeah.
every day. So just really, you know, time-consuming projects that have really paid off, and
Yeah.
yeah, we're very fortunate.
Yeah.
We would love to show you our kitchen and living room. You can follow us this way. Welcome to our kitchen. So when we first bought this house, the kitchen and the living room were an open floor plan, which was the original design of our home, which for the 60s, I don't think that was very popular. If I had it my way, I would probably have a kitchen in its own room with tiled floor. So this was a little bit of a creative challenge for us. We knew that we wanted to remove the peninsula it kind of made a U-shaped kitchen. Originally, I think the refrigerator was right here. So definitely had to rewire, and we ended up having to move the gas line from way over there to right here. So there was a lot of changes in this kitchen, but it's so small that it ended up not being too crazy. We actually bought these cabinets from a building store here in Rome, but my dad helped us add the fronts to all of the drawers and some of the cabinets, and he helped us build built-in around our refrigerator to kind of make it look more in line with the rest of the kitchen. New countertops are really exciting. We actually added our own backsplash ourselves. So we lived here for probably a year before we added the backsplash. So again, patience, just, planning things in advance and kind of timing projects according to our budget. This is another Cabell's piece that I love to keep our kitchen utensils in. Some great charcuterie boards that we got off of our wedding registry. Those were really fun. Always got to have a Sweet Home Alabama spoon rest. And we keep a lot of our cookbooks out here. Some of them are in our dining room, but I like to put the more colorful ones in here just to add more color, because again, we went pretty neutral on the kitchen. These Roman shades I DIY'd, again, because Roman shades are really expensive, and so I found this hack on TikTok where you glue them to just plastic shades. So that's what we did, and they're functional, but I don't test them too often, just in case. I knew that we wanted a big farmhouse sink when we bought this house, so that was really exciting. This actually is where the original sink in the kitchen was, so that wasn't too bad. We've got a great coffee bar here. We love our coffee every morning. I'm usually the one that makes it. I'm definitely the early bird out of the two of us, but Birch always cleans up the coffee pot, which is nice. This is our refrigerator. We were really excited to purchase a new fridge. We love collecting magnets, so we have all of those displayed. And then my little brother, for about 5 Christmases now, his gift to me is a hot on the range cowboy calendar where he glues pictures of Birch's face to every month. So this is July. It seriously brings me so much joy. Like, that's what little brothers are for. Now I'd love to show you our living room. We'll start over here. This is our hutch. I got this actually from my parents. They let me take it here with me when I moved, which was really kind. I love a coffee table book. Again, a great way to add color. We got this art piece from an antique store. I have a lot of coffee table books and I love looking through them, but a lot of times you put them out and then you don't look through them again. So I sometimes will cut out pages and I'll frame them in our house so that way you can see them more often, and it's a really affordable way to add color to your walls. Anywhere we can put a photo, we usually do. I love looking, that one's from our wedding, from our sparkler exit. And then we have a record player that I got Birch one Christmas. He definitely uses it more than I do, but it's a really fun thing to have in our home. Our fireplace, this is my makeshift frame TV. I tried to make it pretty for you, but when we first bought the house, there was a really tall mantle and you couldn't fit a TV over it. And there's not a whole lot of places in this room to put a TV. So I sold that on Facebook Marketplace, and my dad built this one out of leftover hardwood that we had in our home. So I love it because it matches our floors and it's a sweet little sentimental piece. And of course we have our firstborn child on our mantle. There's Winnie. And we got this from an antique store in Fairhope, Alabama. We went there for a friend's wedding and traveled all the way back to Rome with a very fragile piece of decor in our trunk, so that was fun. This is a great chair, again from an antique store. I've really figured out that the more seating options you can have in a room, the better. We try to put chairs throughout our house that people can pull up and so they can sit in the room with us. Again, it's kind of a smaller space, but we like to have seating, so we just kind of put it all in here. This is our gallery wall. We just got these frames off of, I think, Amazon, and then I took them to Michael's and they cut the mats for me to be a lot smaller for photos, which I think just makes them look a little bit more upscale. These are great swivel chairs that we got from World Market. Love sitting in those. We have our coffee table, again with lots of coffee table books. These are one of my favorites. They're actually photo albums, but they look like coffee table books. So when our friends and family come over, we can open them and look through all of our photos. I'm trying to get a lot better about printing photos because I think it's so much more fun. You're so much more likely to look at photos when they're printed versus when they're on your phone. And that's something my mom has always been really good at, is she'll make photo books for us. I have a lot of them in the living room throughout because they're just so fun to look through. So highly recommend doing that. This is our couch with Winnie. She's our 1-year-old cockapoo, and we love her so much. She's being really good right now. I got a lot of these pillows off of Etsy and Home Goods, and then this was another good Facebook Marketplace find that we've just put a lot of little colorful items on, a good little family photo, and a picture with some of our really close friends in Tuscaloosa. The thing I'd love to show you in our living room is this hutch, again from an antique store here in Rome. And this added a lot of great storage to our smaller space, so a lot of our china and stored in here. But then also the shelves were really fun to decorate. So we have a lot of, just trinkets. I love a little trinket, and I probably need to stop buying them because I'm running out of room to put them, but they just make me happy. Lots of nods to Alabama, lots of elephants. This was actually our cake topper for our wedding, which was really sweet. This was a wedding favor at one of our friends' weddings. They had watercolors portraits of couples. I thought that was so cool. And I mean, we'll have that for forever. This is a photo of me with Birch on our high school graduation day. Really sweet. This fish we got on our honeymoon in Key West from Key West Pottery. We love that. And again, artwork is more affordable when you do it yourself. So we have that going. And then another chair that we can just pull up into the living room to add more seating for our friends and family. And if I could put a furbished pillow on every chair, I would. They're our favorites. I would say I definitely lead the design of this home, but Birch is just a really good sport and lets me really just put whatever I want.
Yeah, I mean, everything that I've ever been, kind of hesitant about, once I see it, I see that Ella has the vision to make it work. So at this point, I know that she has the vision, so I go along with it because it all seems to work out.
Anytime we travel, we always try to find either a piece of art or something that we can bring back to our home. I think my design style is very colorful, pretty eclectic. I like mixing old and new. Birch is always having to call Birch to pick up pieces of furniture for me sometimes. Usually on the weekends, that's what I like to do, and you never complain.
No, you just go pick up different items or different pieces of furniture that Ella's found. That is a lot of our weekends sometimes, or it was for a while there while we were, after we had first kind of finished working on the house, then it was kind of time to start filling it up with furniture and different things that we had to buy.
Even before we purchased the house, when we were just thinking that this might be our home, I started researching, design styles, and that's honestly how I found Homeworthy. And we got a ton of inspiration from videos online, also Pinterest. And it's just been really fun making it our own. And I think, you always hear if you love something, buy it and you will make it work in your home. And that has really proven to be true. Now I would love to show you our laundry room. You can follow me this way. Welcome to our laundry room. This is one of my favorite rooms in our home. Originally, the laundry room ended about where I'm standing here, and this is really one of the only structural renovations we made. Originally, it had, the accordion style doors, and then there was a utility closet behind this that you could only access from the garage. So we knocked down that wall, closed up the garage entrance, and this created so much space for our pantry, as well as a larger laundry room where we have space to hang our clothes. And this also serves as Winnie's room. We've got a little dog crate in here for nighttime. Roman shade was one of my first DIYs, and I found this really fun wallpaper off of Wayfair. So I just ordered a lot of it, and it took me a couple weeks just, applying it after work in the evenings. But I love the way this room turned out. I love blue and white, and so it's just a really fun room that I enjoy doing laundry in. So this was in my college apartment. I used it as my dresser and didn't really have a good space for it in this home. So we ended up putting it in here, which might not be that traditional for a laundry room, but great storage. It's a really fun place to kind of display photos and coffee table books and all of Birch's golf tees that I find in the dryer. This is a little place where I like to display pictures, and this was actually on our getaway car for our wedding, so I think it's so sweet. My mom made it for us. I also keep all of our holiday, seasonal decor at the top of our laundry room in those baskets, so those serve a great purpose too. All right, now I'd love to show you our guest bedroom. You can follow me this way. Welcome to our guest bedroom. If you were a guest, this is where you would stay with Winnie. My brother recently stayed here, and he informed me that there isn't a place in here for him to put his hat. So that's something that we're working on. But again, this is a headboard that I found at Restore. I got it for $40 when we were in college, and asked Birch if he would put that in a storage unit for me because I love it. Kept it pretty simple in here. A lot of my clothes are kept in these closets, older house, smaller closets, so really try to use what we have. I got these pillows from Anthropology maybe a year or so ago. I really love blues and greens mixed together. This room has been really fun to decorate, and we'll definitely add to it over the years. Again, great coffee table books in here. I love collecting yearbooks, no matter the school. I just think they're fun to look through, especially, the older the better. Over here, my dad helped me DIY this wardrobe. So this has been a lifesaver for all of my clothes. These are IKEA cabinets that we added a built-in around, and they have really, really helped me keep all my clothes in here. All right, now let's go see our guest bathroom this way. So this is our guest bathroom. This is where I get ready every morning. We kind of had to gut it. We added new tile and a new vanity and just painted the walls. My dad helped rewire these sconces for us. I love these so much. We added this mirror and love a Wheezy towel. So we have those hanging here where more people can see them than just us. I wanted to put artwork in here that represented places that we've traveled to. I think that that's really interesting if you're a guest to kind of be able to see. We collect these whenever we travel, and the wall is growing. I'm not sure where I'm gonna put new places, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. All right, now we'll show you Birch's office.
This is our other bedroom, and I also have my office set up in here because I work from home a couple days a week. So we've got this bed. We got it from the lady who had this house, and it's been here, I guess, its whole life. So
this is her childhood bed.
It's kind of interesting that it's still here. I've got a lot of books here. I'm kind of running out of space, but I tend to collect a lot of books and try to read them.
If you are a college girl dating a boy in a fraternity, this is what ends up happening with the formal cooler that you will paint. It will live in your house and be used as a filing cabinet. So like Birch said, this was the previous homeowner's childhood bed frame. I love this style of, it's like a spindle bed frame. I think it's so classic. And if I'm being honest, up until a couple weeks ago, it had pink bedding on it from my college apartment, but I knew we wanted to make this more manly for Birch's office since he does work out of here a good bit. So we kind of upgraded the duvet cover and added a cool pillow, as well as some fun artwork again that's been thrifted. This is a photo from Darlington where we went to high school and got married. It's from the 80s, but it's overlooking the lake, which is really sweet. And then just some other prints that we found at local antique stores. All right, now we'll take you to our primary bedroom and bathroom. Follow us. So welcome to our primary bedroom and bathroom. It's a pretty small room that we have crammed a king-size bed into, but comfort is just as important as appearance. So we love this room. It's really simple. I love our bedding from Ballard Designs, and just got this such a cute little Lily Wallace pillow from a store in downtown Rome. Poor Birch got the smaller ones of the nightstands, but our bathroom is kind of a small entryway, so again had to work with some design challenges in here. These prints I got from an estate sale here in Rome, and originally I wanted to put them in the hallway, but ended up putting them in here, and we love them. We just did rub and buff on the frames. I just think that these add a nice touch of character to our room. Over here we have our wedding invitation framed. This is just something really sweet that I like looking at every day. Over here I have another piece of art that I did for our bedroom recently to kind of tie in the green pillows. We really wanted to keep this bedroom simple. I think that it's really nice to have a relaxing space to lay your head at night.
I would say that home is just kind of, when you come here, you feel at peace. You know, it's you feel at home, I guess, but you feel like you don't have a lot of stress, and you feel like you can just stay there forever, I guess.
So I think home to me is just somewhere that's joyful and serene. I think home is really where you begin and end a majority of your days. And I think, especially to be with your best friend just makes it really sweet. And, we've had so much fun, just the two of us and Winnie, our puppy, trying new recipes and just hanging out on the couch. It's just really nice to be able to relax here and feel at peace.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Mimi.
I'm Peter.
And welcome to our first home in Silicon Valley.
Welcome to our newest Homeworthy series called Our First Home, where we meet young lovebirds who are building their first nest together.
Now we're the Taylors.
We're married.
These couples have both charming love stories and lovely homes.
It just feels great to be not only building a home, but building a life together.
So prepare to be swept off your feet by these incredible pairs and the places they call home. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Mimi Kelly. I work in the fashion industry. I have a belt brand called 7 Hills, and I work with my mom doing private label accessories.
My name is Peter Horn. I work on the sales and partnerships team at X, formerly known as Twitter.
This is Posey. She is a 4-year-old Chiweenie, we think. We're not totally sure. She was a COVID puppy, and she is the best part of our family. We are in Burlingame, California, about 12 miles south of San Francisco in the heart of Silicon Valley. Our home is a craftsman style home. It is very tiny and very sweet. We absolutely love it.
We've been together about 4 years, and we first met during the peak of COVID in summer 2020. So our first date was very much a COVID date at a park with a bottle of wine and a couple red Solo cups.
And then we did long distance for about 6 months while Peter lived in LA. And then he ended up coming back. We moved in together pretty quickly, actually, and we've been together ever since. We got married in September of 2024, so about 3 months ago. And yeah, it's been great. Welcome to our front room / my office space. This is the first thing you see when you walk into the house. And it's actually one of my favorite parts of our home. When I initially toured the house, I really wasn't sure what I was gonna do with a massive desk here, but I ended up making it a really lovely space. One of my favorite parts about this room are all the floral paintings. My mom actually is a big art collector. She had all of these in her office, and she actually gave some to me, which I'm so grateful for because now they're in my office and we do still work together. And so having these here is just a really special tie to her. Another piece that I love in this room is my little framed Post-it note from my dad. My dad came to my office one day when I wasn't there and left a Post-it on my desk. It just says, "Love you, a secret admirer." Yeah, and that's the Post-it he wrote. And I had it on my computer for a while, and then I thought I would frame it. It's just a really special note to me for some random reason. This whole room not only is where I work, but I also feel like there's so much familial connection here, which I really love. I have some pin boards behind my computer where I have different material cuttings for work. This is really helpful in what I do, obviously. I make physical products. We do bags, belts, and small leather goods. So being able to touch and feel things is really important to me. I just have some coffee table books about work, which is great. You'll also see in our home a lot of horse paintings and horse art. I grew up riding horses. Horses are so important to me. I absolutely love them. So here are 2 paintings that are both of mares and foals, which I love. And then my most recent addition to this room is this wooden saddle. This is actually a real backpacking saddle, I believe, and I found it at a flea market, and I think it's the perfect home here. One of my favorite parts of our home is actually right when you walk in. I have this brass key ring that has a bunch of horses on it. This was actually in my childhood bedroom and my mom let me take it, which I'm so glad. Because we rent this home, there's not a ton I could do in terms of like structural changes, but I found little ways to personalize the home. We changed out some of our switch plates to this kind of green stone, which I think added a lot more character instead of just having older white switch plates. And another way we did that was by changing out the knobs in this desk. When we moved in, the desk just had some silver knobs and I wanted to make it feel a little bit more personal to me. So I found some hand-painted knobs on Etsy and I switched them out, and I feel like it just adds a lot of character and charm to this space. I would say my favorite room in the house is actually my little workspace, which you can probably see behind me. It also flows perfectly into our main living room and I absolutely love it. I don't work from home a lot, but when I do, I love being at my little desk. I just have so many cuttings. It's so inspirational to me and it just feels so cozy. I also love the living room that we're in because I have a lot of my books here, and these are all books that I have read, probably 90% of them, and something about just being around them is just really comforting to me.
My favorite room would be this room, primarily because of the couch. It's the RH Cloud couch, and it's where you'll find me on NFL Sundays for about 8 hours, so it's pretty easy to get comfortable and kind of just chill out for a while.
Once you're done in the entryway, you come into our bigger living room. This, again, is one of my favorite parts of this house, and this is definitely Peter's favorite room. Because it's just Peter, me, and Posey right now, we don't need a lot of room for kids or for other things, so this is just a very chill room. So this couch has come with me through 3 apartments. This is one of my favorite purchases ever. It's just a really deep, super comfortable couch that I really think we'll have forever. Right over here, we have 2 landscape paintings that once again came from my mom. These were in her office, and when I saw them, they were hiding in a little corner, and I just took them off the wall and took them home. I asked her after the fact, and she was totally fine with it, so we're good there. These, I think, just add a lot of warmth to the room, which is really important to me. We've also added a lot of blankets in this house, which you'll see laying over chairs, on the couch, over corners. Because we have Posey, she loves to snuggle up, as do I. So we have a lot of throw blankets, and I just feel like it adds a little bit of texture and just some more character. Another part of this room that I really love are our layered rugs. We did this in our last home as well. And again, I really like the textural element. For a while, I had a hard time adding color, and I feel like starting with rugs and throw blankets has really allowed me to explore that more. This coffee table I think is so cool. It's actually a dipped concrete. I wanted a colored marble, and Peter kind of vetoed that for cost reasons. So I found a dipped concrete coffee table, and it is such a great focal point. I absolutely love it. In terms of coffee table styling, I keep it pretty basic with just some coffee table books. I try to find ones that not everyone has, but it's not a really big deal. These knit coasters I actually really love. My little brother lives in Alaska, and I visited him twice, and we went to a random like flea market in Alaska, and they had these knit coasters, which I thought was so random, but now that I have them, I love them. They remind me of my brother. Also in this room, we have a ton of books. I would say about 85 to 90% are mine, and Peter contributed about 10%. I love to read. I have always loved to read. It's something that my dad instilled in me from a really young age, and I'm definitely a physical book person. I would have a really hard time styling these shelves without books, and I just absolutely love them. It feels really comforting to have them all here. Like I said, my family is such an important part of this house, an important part of my life. So I have a framed photo of my brothers and I. I don't have a ton of framed photos of me and Peter and me and my family. I just like to have little pieces everywhere. And this, again, I've carried through like 4 different apartments, and it always just reminds me of my brothers, so I love it. We do have a fireplace in this room. It is not a working fireplace, so we just keep some candles in there. It's more decorative, which I am totally fine with at this point. We found this home in a little bit of an untraditional way. We were actually living down the street, about 5 houses down, and we loved our house. We were so happy in it, and the landlords unexpectedly told us that they had to sell the house. So about 3 weeks before our wedding, we were stuck trying to find a place to live. We absolutely love the community we're in. It took us 9 months to find the previous home we lived in, and we ended up getting really lucky. This house was for rent, and I messaged the realtor on Zillow at about 10 p.m. and he responded. I saw it the next day, and we basically signed our lease right then. Once you leave this main living room, you come into our formal dining room, which we do not use as a dining room. Again, we don't really have a purpose for it at this point. So we made it into kind of a den. We call it the reading room. We call it the other living room. It's just this great little space. I actually spend a lot more time in this room than I thought I would. It's really comforting. I like to read in here when Peter's watching sports. It's quiet, it's dark, and it's cool, so it's perfect. Posey also loves this couch. As you can see, there is a permanent dent in that cushion from where she lays, and she's cute, so she can get away with it. This coffee table I also took from my mom. I'm very lucky. My mom has great taste and has collected items throughout the years that now I get to take advantage of. So she let me have this one. Again, same styling with the coffee table, florals, books, and candles. It's try to keep it simple. This chair I have had forever. This I got at my first corporate job at an employee sample sale, which is so random, and I think it's such a great piece. I really do think I'll have it forever, and I got such a great deal on it, so I'm super happy with that. As door stops, I actually use bookends. These are horseshoe bookends, again, that I had in my childhood bedroom, and I didn't really have a place for them, so I thought they'd be great door stops, and I think having them on both sides of these doors is just a great little piece. When we moved in, there was this kind of random archway that I wasn't sure what to do with, but I ended up finding a chest that fit perfectly. We have this photograph of a horse. This is so important to me. So I'm really big into horse rescues, and for my birthday one year, Peter asked what I wanted, and I asked him to buy a photo from this photographer who donates 100% of her proceeds to horse rescues. So this is Frederick, I believe is his name. He was a rescue horse. He's so beautiful, and having this here just brings me so much peace and so much joy. It's such a great organization, so I love having a part of that in my home. I actually do not drink, but this bottle of Clase Azul, we got at our welcome party for our wedding. We rented out a bar in this town, and we ended up finishing this bottle, so they let us have it, which I think is really sweet. I'm not huge into bar carts, obviously, like not really my thing, but it's special to us at that point in our lives. Another kind of random piece here that I really love is this pewter tray. My mom and I travel so much for work. We're in Europe multiple times a year, and the most recent trip to Italy we went to Brescia in Italy, and that's the home of all these different pewter factories. Pewter is typically used in homeware and flatware, serveware, all that kind of stuff. We actually went to look at belt buckles, which was really cool, and they had a whole showroom of incredible pieces, and I wanted a tray so bad for this exact spot, but they didn't sell any of it there. So as a birthday gift, my mom somehow found it for me, and actually on the bottom of this tray, the Brescia emblem is pressed into it, which I think is really cool. I'll definitely have this forever, and I really cherish it. This piece was another outlet purchase for me. I pride myself on being able to find really good deals on large pieces of art, and this was no exception. This actually doesn't fit into my style really, but I still think it looks great in this particular spot. It's a little bit more industrial than I like. This is like a detailed drawing of the Brooklyn Bridge, which I think is really cool. This piece fits perfectly in this room. I'm really glad we found a home for it because I do love it, even though it's a little bit more masculine than the rest of our stuff, but I think it looks great here. A somewhat different element of this room that I wasn't really sure about is actually this recess in the ceiling. I've never seen anything like this before, but it did remind me of our last San Francisco apartment with the molding and all the different elements. We still might change out this light fixture. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's a great little focal point, I'd say. Overall, one of the things I love about this house is just the different tiny details that the builders did. We still have a lot of the original details like the crown molding and the archways and stuff, and I just think it brings a lot of warmth and character into the home. I feel like our home is driven by three main principles, which is family, comfort, and passion. I have a lot of different interests. I'm a very hobby-driven person, and I always want the home that I'm in to feel really comfortable and to feel like me. I have definitely driven most of the decor decisions, and the overall vibe that I really resonate with is just being comfortable and cozy. A lot of our decor and a lot of our stuff has come from my parents. It's been passed down, and that's really special to me. We have a lot of books because I love to read. Everything in here has a purpose. It feels very lived in. I don't want it to feel too cold, and I've really created a space that I think Peter and I both love to be in.
I would say that we don't have the same taste, but I know that my taste is not as good as hers, so I typically defer to her on all style questions. I do have a room in the house where I usually work where I have a couple pieces of art that didn't make the first cut, but I get to enjoy them in my own room.
There was a tapestry that he had in his LA apartment that I did not allow to come back to Northern California.
No longer with us.
Once you leave this little sitting room, you come right into our bedroom. I love this bedroom because we have such high ceilings. Peter is obviously very tall, so for him, it was a major plus as well. Again, one of the main things I want to feel in this house is just comfortable, cozy, and warm, and I think we've really done that with this room. I try to keep things pretty simple. I change up bedding seasonally, and I think these wall sconces are one of my favorite parts of this room. This one's a little bit crooked, but that's okay. This is something I've never actually had before, and I think it adds just a really cool element. This landscape painting is also from my mom. It was in the same hidden corner of the office, and I think it looks perfect here. We have another horse drawing here. This I actually found through a collector on Instagram, and I looked for her account today and I couldn't find it. So she had all the details of like who drew this and everything. I don't know who that is anymore, but I think it's such a great piece and it looks awesome here. I love this little sitting area in our bedroom. Unfortunately, our cushion did not come in time for this, but once we have our cushion here, I think it'll be great. I do keep shoes underneath here because we do have limited closet space, but it's just a great little area and it brings in so much natural light. We're really lucky. Our neighbors have done a great job landscaping, so we get a lot of greenery and kind of get to look at that all day. Sort of hidden in this top corner of our bedroom are more bottles of wine. Again, I don't drink, but my parents are big into wine. My mom is Italian, and for our wedding, which was at their house, they spent a lot of time curating the wine selection. There ended up being 90 bottles of wine for 72 people. So there was obviously some leftover, and my dad gave us one bottle of each, like different wine that was served throughout the courses. Who knows if we'll ever get into these bottles. I think it's just special to have them here. And again, we moved in a couple months ago, so this is still a work in progress, but I think having them here reminds me of our wedding and all that, especially because we don't have a lot of wedding photos framed and printed out yet. One of the more funky parts of this room is this fireplace mirror combination. If I had the choice, I actually would not have this mirror here, but I think we've made the best of it. We put some birch logs in here. I wish this was a functional fireplace, but it's not, so we're just gonna pretend with the logs. Again, here we were able to switch out this switch plate. I love the addition of color and the addition of texture. I think it just makes things more interesting. And this piece is actually one of my favorites. I found this at the flea market recently. It's actually a tapestry. So if you look at the back of it, there's all these loose threads because it pretty much looks like a rug. My little brother in Alaska loves this. I sent him a picture of it and he really wants it. So it might have to go to him one day, but for now, it looks great here. Once you leave our bedroom, you kind of flow right into the kitchen, which really is one of my favorite parts of the house. We did the same thing with the switch plate right here. We kept them all the same. We only changed out those three, but I think it looks great. This is one of my favorite flea market finds. I love landscape paintings and especially frames that have a little bit more depth than a traditional frame. I think these go perfectly right here. It also matches our floors, which are a little bit funky. They're blue, green, and kind of brown, but I have really grown to love these. I think it goes great with everything that we've done. And you might notice as you walk up here, there is a definite increase in incline. Like it is a noticeable hill, but that's okay. We love it. This is our kitchen. It was recently redone, which I feel really lucky to have. Although it was recently renovated, I still feel like there's a lot of kind of depth and character in this room. I absolutely love it. I'm really big into cooking and it feels really homey in here. One of my favorite parts of this kitchen is actually our little hideaway curtain. I worked with our designer who works for Seven Hills and she knows how to sew. And so I bought fabric and she made a little hideaway curtain here because I don't love my dishwasher. And I think it looks so cute and cozy. I just absolutely love it. We have this kind of bay window in here. I don't know if you would really call it that, but it's allowed me to kind of display some cookbooks. I, again, feel so lucky. My mom gave me a massive box of cookbooks and having them on display feels so special. She's a great cook. She taught me how to cook. And so having them here obviously makes me feel closer to her. And I just think that I will be able to pass these down forever. So we have a couple in the bay window and then we have more where you would typically see a microwave. We don't have a microwave, so we put more books. And again, more bottles that I will never drink right here, just as a decorative accent. This painting is a paint by numbers that again was in my childhood bedroom that I took, and it's so simple, but it's so sweet. I love it. Peter doesn't love it here because he always knocks it over, but it's worth having it here. I think it looks really sweet. Again, my brother might steal this from me one day, but for now, it's mine. I recently picked up these vintage candy molds from the flea market that I think are so cool. They're shaped like different animals in copper. I really wasn't sure what they were at first, and then I did some research because I wanted to buy more, and they're candy molds. They actually have little D-rings on them, so I was able to hang them here. I think they're so sweet. We have a pig, a rooster, and a sheep. I think they're adorable. They just bring a lot of warmth here. I really am loving copper. A new addition to this kitchen is also this butcher block. We got this actually this week because ours was so warped, and this is such a cool piece. It is 18 pounds, so I have yet to clean it. I just don't physically think I could lift that into the sink and clean it. So this is Peter's worst nightmare, but I think it adds so much to this room. These prints Peter and I bought while he was living in Los Angeles, again at a flea market, and this was a learning lesson for us when we went to get them framed. We did not ask for a quote before doing custom framing, and that was a test early in our relationship when we both looked at each other after handing over the credit card and being like, oh my gosh, lesson learned, we'll never do custom framing without getting a quote first. But I do love these pieces. We go to Malibu every year together, so these are from the little like Soho house in Malibu, and then this was Peter's personal choice. As you may be able to tell, the sundaes and sandwiches, two of his favorite things. Making a home together has actually been such a seamless process. Although we moved in pretty quickly together, I feel like once we had all of our stuff and once we started talking about everything, it was really easy and really painless. As Peter mentioned previously, he lets me kind of take control, take the reins on things. So I get to go out and source things I love, and I bring them home and he just kind of smiles and nods, which is great.
My job's the easy part. I let her do all the designing and styling, and then I do the cleaning. So yeah, it's a good partnership.
It's fun to do together, but I definitely take the lead, and he likes to see what I find, so.
I would probably say my favorite thing about Mimi is her drive. She's incredibly passionate and dedicated to whether it's her belt brand, reading almost 100 books this year, or growing her TikTok following really on her own. Whatever she sets her mind to, she really goes after it, and it's definitely something that I really admire about her.
That's so nice. My favorite thing about Peter is just how kind he is. I said to him the other day, I listen to these podcasts and I read these books about some men, and I just can't believe that I got so lucky. He is the kindest hearted person I've ever met. He's so gentle, he's so caring, and he's like a gentle giant. I'm just obsessed with him, and I feel really, really lucky. In here is what we call our dining room. It's very tiny, but it's really just us and Posey when we eat dinner. So this is all we need, really. Peter's mom at our wedding in her speech did mention that she thinks we need a real dining table, but we're not there yet. I love my little den more than a formal dining room. These stools are from a local consignment store that my dad actually got us as a housewarming present. I should mention that I picked them out first and he just bought them for us, but I really love them. I love having this more natural kind of vintage wood in here. I think it brings a lot of warmth into the room. This skateboard we've actually had since we lived in San Francisco together. I don't know where I saw this, and I don't really know how I feel about it now, but I think it fits in this corner perfectly. Again, big into horses, big into cowboys. I love it. Right over here, we have Posey's corner too. This is her favorite part of the house. She definitely gets into all kind of trouble over here. And then this piece is one of my personal favorites. I have had it for so long, and as you may be able to tell, the frame is on its last leg. Truly every day I hear it creak and I'm afraid it's gonna fall off the wall. One of my mom's best friends owns home stores in the Bay Area, and she had a client who imported different things from France and ended up importing this, and she didn't want it. So for my college graduation gift, she gave me this massive piece of art. At first I had no idea what to do with it, and it's come with me everywhere, and it always has a home. I think it's so cool. I love having large scale art. The next thing on my to-do list is to get this frame fixed, but for now, she's hanging on. Right over here, like I said, we don't have a ton of wedding photos framed yet, This is one of our engagement photos that we had framed. We did an engagement shoot with actually one of my friends from college, and the pictures turned out so great. I'm not huge into having like a ton of photographs around the house. I love that this one is shot from a distance. It just feels a little bit more interesting, and it covers some weird little wires that we have right here, so it's perfect.
To me, home is a place that you're really excited to get back to after you've been gone somewhere, whether it's work or travel. Home is somewhere where you're just excited to be after a long day or a long trip, and that's definitely how I feel about our home.
I love that. Home to me feels like comfort, and it feels like family, and it feels like peace. Whether it's my mom's paintings that she's passed down to me, or cookbooks she's given me, or little pieces that I've taken from my parents' home, or books that Peter has given me, every piece in our home feels like something that was given to me with love. And I feel so grateful for that. I feel so comfortable every time I come into this home. Even when we get back from the grocery store, I just look at our house. I'm like, I love living here. Definitely was an untraditional way to get into this house. It was stressful at first, but I absolutely love it. It feels like us, and it just feels so cozy.